Check it out.
He's a great interview. He just knows so much shit.
Yeah, smart. You really don't have to. You don't have to say much with Felsher at all. You can just kind of let him go.
Yeah,
he'll give you gold.
That's what I was kind of hoping. Like I would just get him on here tonight and just let him loose, and be like, oh.
Well, he has so many stories.
Yeah, I wonder how many times we've had him on the show over the years. It's probably been 20 times or more.
A lot. Yeah.
Those are always my favorite shows.
Yeah.
Yeah, the mic check.
I like Jay Real too.
Yeah, Jay Real. I haven't talked to him in a couple of days. I was going to invite him on here, but I didn't even think about it.
Jay Real's busy out there pumping iron, man.
Yes,
that's true.
Swole. He ain't got time for this.
When he's not getting swole, he's taking photos.
I'm worried where those pictures are going. What's next?
Well, I think that's on his
OnlyFans
fish account or Farmer's Mingle or something like that. So what's going on, guys? We're on here live, the Patron Roundtable, for March. It's the 34th, almost April Fool's Day.
Almost.
And we've had Mr. Bombastic on here before from S'mores Indoors podcast. But Ben, I think you're busting your cherry tonight for the roundtable.
Been a listener since the beginning, really.
That's a long damn time.
Yeah, I think the first time I listened to you was your Joe Dante interview.
Okay, so yeah, that was like 2007, maybe something like that.
I never participated on the forums much, but I was always lurking around.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, back in the day, the forums, that was just insane. Yeah, the internet was like the wild, wild west back then, really.
Yeah, there are some crazy people on there.
That was the best way to describe it.
Dr. Blood.
Yeah. And then, I don't know if it was Dr. Blood or who it was, but, man, there would be people they would flood the board with junk every once in a while, too. And I think we got as many moderators as we could, but it's still, I mean, it was different back then. If you weren't, like, I don't know if Mr. Bombastic was around in those days, but, yeah, it was different.
First show I listened to was like the 06 year in review. And I was hooked after that.
Yeah.
Sometimes I got to school these guys on YouTube, like the horror community on YouTube, on who DEADPIT is, exactly who the hell DEADPIT is.
I can't think
why and how they wouldn't be here today if there was no DEADPIT. There'd been no Pizzal. There'd been no Jay the Stingray. There'd been none of that.
That was I think Christian Hanna had a video. We talked about it a couple of times. And I was like, because I still had that mentality from back in the day, because I saw something about Into the DEADPIT in the title. I'm like, what the hell is this shit? What are they going to say on there? Like, that was what I was thinking, right? But no, I mean, they were actually kind of putting over the show, so it was a pleasant surprise there. I know Jay a little bit, but Christian, I didn't really know him at all before that.
Yeah, we were actually, the night before that show, we were talking about DEADPIT, like in a private kind of stream. And they said they wanted to get together and talk about all that. Because so many people from, there's one little section of YouTube that is a lot of people basically from those forums. I know, like Orc and Jay, Piz, of course. All those guys came from the DEADPIT message boards.
Rambo Raff,
Rambo Raff, yes. He's still doing it, man. He'll upload like 17 videos a day.
I don't know how.
Movie review.
I don't know how he does it. Like, I couldn't do that. Like, he'll do like custom reviews from people PayPal him $5 or $10 or whatever. And he'll fucking watch the movie. I couldn't do that.
Somebody gave me $10 to watch Rocky 4. I think I'd go for it. Like, shit, I might have just watched Rocky 4.
Rocky 4, that wouldn't be so bad, but what about, I don't know. Let me think of something. Alligator 2: The Mutation. That was one that one of our guys asked us to review.
Where do you find that at?
It's on YouTube, thankfully. That's the only way I'd be able to watch it. I don't own it, so.
Hey, help me remember here. Didn't y'all shit on this movie all the time back in the day on the show?
Tourist Trap.
That's a good movie.
I don't think so. I don't remember that. We may have reviewed it one time.
I've
I
always
can't
liked.
recall though. Didn't they screw the Blu-ray of that up?
Yeah, that's not.
This is the re-release.
There's
It's
a new
the
one.
uncut. Yeah.
Okay, so they fixed it.
Somebody behind you.
Yeah, I have an invader. It's Ripley.
Have somebody else join us for the Brady Bunch hour. Hang on a second here, guys. Eric, what's going on, sir?
What's up, fellas? How's it going?
Hello.
How's it going?
It's going. We're just kind of hanging out tonight, talking a little bit of horror, Dead Pit history early on. Taking
Super
a
cool.
stroll down memory lane, baby.
This is awesome. I love that you're doing the Patreon now.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been a fan of you guys since I've been listening to Dead Pit since I was like 19, and I'm almost 35. So super cool.
Wow. Yeah, that's almost since the beginning, I guess.
Yeah.
Pretty much the beginning. Yeah. Like what we were saying before, though, is the internet back then was way different. YouTube back then was way different as well. Like I know those guys, Christian, Hannah, and Jay, were talking about, the early 2000s, YouTube and everything like that. A lot of the stuff they have, like video responses, was a big thing back in the day on YouTube. No more. They took those away, which I think sucks.
I liked video responses.
Uh-oh. Shit's about to get real, bulls.
Uh-oh.
Oh shit.
Hi.
We're about to explode.
It's full house.
Oh shit. How you
I
bitches
didn't know if
doing?
you're gonna make. I didn't know if you was gonna make it on here tonight. You never did say anything back to me, buddy. We need to communicate.
It's always that's true. It's always just like I never know. But here I am.
Welcome. But yeah, we were talking, Uncle Bill, about how the internet was kind of the wild, wild west back when we were starting to show up, the message board, YouTube, everything like that. YouTube, you could pretty much put whatever the hell you wanted to on YouTube back in the day, and we kind of did.
Yeah, I mean, there was really nothing like going on whatsoever at that time. And I can remember, I don't think that a lot of the stuff that you see now, like the reviews and the unboxing videos, I don't think there was even a lot of that shit at the time. Like there was a couple of channels that did that, but like now there's just like 1,000. Like you can click on anything and they'll unbox and review and do anything in the world. Like, but there wasn't that many known YouTubers at that time. Even there's probably, I would say maybe 30 to 50 of that anybody had ever even heard of. It was just a completely different landscape.
Yeah, a lot of the stuff that I watched back then it was almost like they're vloggers and they kind of cyberbullied each other. There was a guy online, you guys probably have no idea who this is, but he was called Hellion Exciter, and he would just basically cut wrestling promos and shit on other YouTubers and call them out and shit. Like it was the most entertaining thing.
Yeah, I can't even remember. Like, I think back then, like when we started doing it, like the only people I can remember that people knew were like Philip DeFranco, Fred.
Oh,
God.
You remember Fred, don't you? Like,
yes.
and the other
Not
dude,
a Living Fred movie with John
Yeah.
Cena. I remember seeing that at Walmart and being like, what the hell is this?
it was just completely different. Like, I don't know. And you really could do anything at that point in time. Like I don't think they were really monetizing or demonetizing anything at that point. So you could put anything in the world up. I remember one of the funniest things I ever saw, like right at the beginning of all that trend and everything, was the guy It was like Unforgivable or something like that.
Yeah.
No,
Do you remember that?
It's a chicken sandwich and some waffle fries.
And you could never put that shit on there now. Like, there's no way.
Free.
Like some of the stuff he was saying.
Smoke a bag of meth.
Well, I mean, around that time period, as far as stuff that we were putting up too, like we would put up actual, like the Hillbilly Horror Theater stuff where it was actually shots from movies and voice over it and all that. And that was perfectly fine. But then, of course, yeah, the Pet Cemetery one is the one that got removed by Paramount probably about, I don't know, 10 years ago or whenever. But yeah, I mean, back then you could put up whatever the hell you wanted to, really. It's totally different. And they had like a featured page where some of the more popular videos would be on that featured page. And it didn't have like now a lot of people trick YouTube. Like it's all about like whoever stays throughout the video and then they'll recommend, I don't know, the algorithms and all that, how that works. I don't know exactly how it works. But back then it was really whatever the most popular video was. They didn't have these, these coded algorithms that showed these videos there. It was just really the most popular videos on that page. So different times. Back in we started YouTube in 2006, I think. So I don't know how long it'd been online at that point.
Yeah, that's hard to believe. It's been that damn.
So, but anyway, guys, I mean, basically, what was it? I'm sorry.
All the short movies you guys used to make, what were they called?
I mean, we made.
There's one where you. What's the name of it?
Oh, like the Road to Hostel 2 and stuff like that.
Yeah. And you had a little creature or something you were fighting against.
There was a Blizzard Bob.
Yeah.
That might be it. Blizzard Bob.
Which was the Christmas.
Yeah, the
theme.
little snowman. Right?
Yeah.
And then Uncle Bill Gets Brutal is kind of an underrated one.
Yeah,
we did.
Yeah.
This is when we were showcasing where he finally cut his hair. Had his long hair, and the whole thing is he had become an Eli Roth fan, right? And we got into like a kung fu fight at the end or something like that with some great fighting choreography and all that. So. Yeah, that was a pretty good one too.
That's one thing that we really fucked up on. We really should have tried harder to get Eli Roth on the show.
Well, you guys called him one time, right?
Did you ever like actually talk to him ever?
No, but we got his number somehow. This is the best shit ever. And we just kept leaving messages on his voicemail.
Yeah.
So like I know at least he was aware of us if he checked his voicemail whatsoever, but he would never reply or anything.
He probably would have been a fan of the show. I mean, obviously you guys, you bashed his stuff, but
I was about to say, I don't know if he'd have been such a fan when it came to
I think I'll put it to you this way though. I agree. I think he probably would have got it.
Yeah.
Like I think he would have at least understood like what we were doing. I don't know if he would have liked us just because how much shit we talked about, like all of his movies.
You'd have had a
feel like,
situation.
Yeah, I feel like we could have got him at some point on the show. Like that could have happened, but we weren't. I don't know what the hell we were doing. We didn't pursue it enough, I don't think.
I mean, y'all got everybody else though, like everyone.
Well, we didn't get Craven. That's one I've always wished we got.
I still think that we could get Eli Roth at some point. Maybe we could call.
I think we could now, especially.
We could call upon a friend to help us get Eli Roth. Who would that friend be?
Oh, God.
The slipster of style.
Oh, Jesus.
Slippy, you need to call upon Eli Roth, baby, and tell him that we want to talk to him.
Oh, no.
Tell him it's high time that he crosses that line in the sand, Daddy.
We feel like that now would be a good time. I mean, tempers would not be as bad, probably. He's not doing nearly as much. I feel like that we could get him, have a nice civil conversation.
Oh, yeah, you guys are great at civil conversation.
What I'm going to do, though, this is the plan, because there's going to be another Eli Roth History of Horror season, I'm almost positive. So if we get a press release, I want to make up a fake name for a fake site and say, hey, we would like to get Eli Roth for an interview. Here's my number. Tell him to give us a call. Not work out.
I did work with him briefly on the Green Inferno Collector's Edition. They brought me in to do a recut of the featurette they did with him because they weren't happy with how it was working out. And so they asked me to come in and work with him on that. And it was very nice. Actually, working with him was really was very nice. He had a lot of notes, I remember, on the featurette, but they were all good suggestions. They were all like, cut this down, make this, But, it was a good experience. I don't have any negative really things to say about him.
I feel like we gave him a bad rap. I mean, all of his movies were shitty, but I feel like
okay, let's examine those two sentences for a second there.
Okay.
I think we gave him a bad rap, but all his movies are shitty. Well, I don't.
Yeah, I meant him as a person. Like, I feel like he would have gotten our kind of humor, and he probably would have been pretty cool with it. I mean, he just can't make a film to save his fucking life. But I feel like all the rest of the stuff,
you just can't say anything nice about the guy without following it up with, "But his movies are crap."
What? I mean, they are, though. They're just blatantly horrible.
Well,
and I think he's
the History of Horror show is pretty good.
Yes, that's good. I like that.
I enjoy that.
Yeah. He's a very good interview, I'll say that. I mean, we ended up, the featurette I did with him ended up being almost 50 minutes long. But he's a very engaging guy. He can really tell good stories. And I'm sure he'd do a very good job with an interview with you guys. I'm sure he would go very, very well. Except whenever Uncle Bill opened his mouth for any reason. But, it's just other than that.
I don't think. See, that's the part that I feel would not go well, because at some point we'd have to start talking about his movies.
Well, yeah, and I don't think you'd be able to. I don't think you'd be able to help yourself. I don't think.
No, I don't think I could just be like, so Cabin Fever was interesting. I think I'd be like, dude, what the fuck is like? What was wrong with that movie?
I can just see you being like, oh, I'm really playing this piece to have Eli Roth here, whose movies are shit, but I'm really happy he's here.
That's kind of how it would be. Yeah, I mean.
Yeah.
So that probably would be. Okay, put you this way, though. Like, I love almost all of John Carpenter's movies, but, like, when it comes to sitting down with him, if it was to be, like, face-to-face, like, let's have the sit down, I think I'd probably rather have the dude who I hate all of his fucking movies, but feel like I could probably have a conversation with him.
You're just winning fans left and right, Uncle Bill. You're just
mean,
hearts and minds, man. It's just it's really great.
Have you met John Carpenter, Felsher? I know you have.
Yeah, no, I've met him on 3 or 4 occasions, actually, yes.
We'll give you a brief impression of meeting John Carpenter.
Have you used his coupon code to save 10% on the Turtle Beach headphones? Just curious.
Well, what an interesting change of topic. What? You're not really into like transitional material, are you? You're just like, oh fuck that.
John Carpenter.
Well, yeah, but what does Turtle Beach headphones have to do with anything?
He's got a sponsorship with Turtle Beach headphones because he likes playing his Xbox all day and smoking weed.
Good for
Not
him.
a bad way to go. Yeah, I mean, honestly.
That's a good feeling.
He made the award, and he was like, "Okay, well, that shit's done."
I have not used the Turtle Beach headphones coupon code from John Carpenter, but I will
on that.
I'm gonna, you know what? I'm gonna make a note right now because I'm not in the market for headphones, nor do I give a shit. But I'm gonna write this down anyway. Turtle Beach headphones, John Carpenter coupon code. What the fuck?
His coupon code. You have to know the coupon code. It is "fuck you."
That sounds about right. That sounds about right. Yeah, he's look, I have nothing really bad to say about the guy. My encounters with him have been very brief, but he's a little cantankerous, maybe at times, a little cranky. But he's also just, what I find refreshing about him, at least, is he's not putting on any appearances. You know, if he's just kind of like, take it or leave it. This is who I am at this point, and it's like, all right, that's fine. It doesn't change my opinion of his talent or his movies. So at the end of the day, that's fine.
There's no social contract with John Carpenter. Like, he has no fucking desire to make anybody happy. He's just like,
no, he is. Here I am. he is officially half past giving a fuck, and that's fine. And actually, that can be very delightful at times. But he's done some interviews for me in the past, and they've always been very good. He at the end of the day, he does deliver the goods. So,
he is one of those guys, though. I don't know if you've noticed this about him. He can't really translate a lot of what he does into a conversation.
No, he doesn't. He doesn't. Yeah, he's not big on talking about what kind of drives him as a filmmaker to a certain extent. He'll talk about what he was going for when he was writing something, or he'll talk about the experience of making the movie to a certain degree. But he prefers to kind of leave that other stuff off the table and let you kind of figure it out. And also, I don't think he really wants to delve into it that much. I don't think he really wants to examine. He just kind of goes with his instincts, and that's it. And his films all have very easy to understand themes at the end. I think that's one of the things about him that's the best, is that you can really relate to a lot of what's going on: paranoia, the fear of government, fear of control, that sort of thing, raging against the mainstream, and going against what people in power are telling you. He has a real problem with authority in his movies. A lot of people are living on the outside and trying to rebel against the system or staying off the grid and things like that. So I think he doesn't feel the need to really explain a lot of that to a certain extent anyway.
I tell you who is good at explaining it, though. If you've ever seen any interviews with John Landis, I've never seen a dude that can talk as much with just like a stream of consciousness about movies as that guy.
Oh yeah, he loves movies, clearly, and he's made some really good ones too.
As long as you don't bring up the Twilight Zone movie.
Someone, from what I understand,
3 actors and it ruined. Nobody will stop talking about it.
Weird thing about it is someone at Horror Hound. Remember when he was at Horror Hound? You guys were there.
Yeah.
And someone brought up a Twilight Zone poster for him to sign. Oof. And he signed it, apparently.
Huh.
And it's like, first of all, Brass Balls Award to the guy who brought that up.
Yeah,
and,
really.
It's just like, hey, here's a pleasant memory for you. I've really gotten into that accident a lot in terms of just doing the research and looking at the footage. It's a horrifying thing to see. Sean Clark actually is one of the first people to ever go back out to the actual location recently. He actually managed, because it's remote and really, really hard to get to. And it's eerie to watch the footage of work, because he's actually at the spot where the helicopter landed. And it's just kind of like, damn, what an unfortunate thing. It was really just a tragedy.
I don't know if this is true or not, because I've been watching some stuff on that as well. I saw some video that said that after the accident, there were the 2 decapitated heads, right? Mm-hmm. I had heard that somebody from the crew had put the heads in a garbage bag. Have you heard anything about that?
Okay. There's a lot of conflicting reports about that night and stuff, but what's really horrifying to watch is there's a couple videos on YouTube where they have all the different angles lined up one after the other of all the cameras that were shooting that night. And there's a couple of them where they show the slow motion, and it's clear. It's brutal, and I'll say this at least. It's a brutally horrible way to die, but at least it was fast. I mean, there's no way they had a clue what had happened to them. But there's a moment where from one camera angle, you can see it on some of the other ones, but in one in particular, it's sort of low and to the left, and it cuts back, and they show that the copter lying there, and there's crew members that rush out. And there's this one guy, I'll never forget, he kind of goes around the one side, and he starts to go towards the copter like he's going to try to rescue somebody or get something, and all of a sudden he just does this and starts going back and just kind of runs off, and you're like, what the fuck did he see?
I couldn't imagine.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like, so yeah, it's one of those accidents where it's just like, this never should have happened. This was just a recipe for disaster. And when you see the footage, it's, how they had the whole thing set up, it was like, how could they not have thought this was going to happen?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just,
what's crazy to me too is they still, like a movie like Twilight Zone's an anthology movie, so they didn't have. I wouldn't have put that segment in the movie at all. I mean, I would have left it out.
It was a tough call, I guess, for them. I guess on the one hand, it's just like, they're gone. Do we put it in? Is it bad taste to leave it in, or should we just I don't know. A lot of interesting decisions were made around that time that probably would not be made today. Most likely, one of two things would have happened. They would have scrapped the movie entirely, or they would have shut it down and then just shot a whole new story to fill in for that one. But it's a weird situation. It's hard to watch it. That movie's weird because it starts off with that story, so you're already kind of like, ugh. And then it goes into the most saccharine, sweet story of all time, which is Spielberg's take on Kick the Can. Which, if you're not diabetic while watching it, you will become diabetic while watching it, because it's like, okay, I get Spielberg likes the twinkly bullshit in the 80s, kind of like overly sentimental, but this goes so far over the top. You're like, okay, I get it. Old people are cute. What else you got, But then the next two stories save the whole fucking enterprise. Because Joe Dante's thing is so delightfully batshit weird, and it's got just the weird Rob Bottin creatures and everything, and then Lithgow in the final piece, the Nightmare at 20,000 feet or whatever, 30,000 feet. That's just a white knuckler all the way around. I mean, that's one of the best closers. They picked the right closer for that. So you do walk out of that movie going, oh, son of a bitch, until you think, oh, that's right, the first two kind of sucked. But
that's a movie, though, I guess due to the accident, I don't hardly ever want to watch that movie.
No, it's not one I'll watch
Yeah.
segments of it. I won't watch the whole thing. I haven't watched the Landis one probably since it came out on video back in the day, because I just had no desire to go back because the whole time. It's like, oh, this is, But I've watched the Dante and George Miller ones countless times, because I can just hand pick and choose and watch those segments because they're amazingly well done.
Now, do you guys think that Landis would have had like that Spielberg-like career had that not happened? Because he was really being teed up there. Like, he was given the only original story. Like, it felt like they were really teeing him up to be the next big guy.
Well, he was coming off of it. I mean, he and Spielberg both were coming off of huge successes, a big run of successes, and Landis went on for several years to continue to have a string of successes. What finally kind of did him in, though, was when the trial happened a few years later. And then he did Coming to America, and it was a big battle between him and Eddie Murphy on that. It didn't go very well. And then he did a couple things after that. And then it's just, I think Hollywood at that point was just like, oh, he's not hot anymore. We don't have to work with him. Okay, we'll just leave that alone.
Yeah, I think he would have been like in the same.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Because a lot of those guys that were the bigger ones, if it hadn't been for that, like you said, the trial. And I remember, like, there's a quote I've never until recently read this quote, but the thing that Coming to America went so bad with Eddie Murphy that he said, I think as that movie was being promoted, he said the quote was. Vic Morrow has a better chance of working with John Landis again than I do.
Yeah.
That was the quote.
And then 6 years later, he worked with him again.
Yeah, then he did Beverly Hills Cop 3. So I don't know. Yeah.
So it's like, and Eddie Murphy's been talking because of Coming to America. John Landis.
You watched that, by the way, Felsher?
Jesus Christ.
I did. I watched it, and I'll say this about it: it's pleasant enough to watch. It's perfectly fine, but it's like. Okay, so your job is basically just rehashing every single joke or character from the first movie. It's member berries from South Park. It's like, remember this guy? Remember this line? And it's just like, I would have liked a little more originality than just rehashing every single
Louis
thing.
Anderson at? I hadn't seen him in like decades.
Well, and that was another thing. It's like, really? You had to shoehorn Louis Anderson back in this thing? I mean, nothing against Louis Anderson, but it's like, we don't need to see every single motherfucker that walked by the set on the original pop back in the thing. But it was entertaining enough. But it's like the
end game. It's like the end game of like fan service movies. Like they got everybody back from the first one, and nobody does anything different, and they just like they shot basically all the same scenes.
Yeah, it was just. I mean, it was again. It's well made and it's well performed and everything, and I didn't hate it by any stretch of the imagination. But it was just like I'm sitting there was going. I was like, you're not giving me anything I haven't already gotten from the first movie, really. So, and it was disappointing coming after Dolomite Is My Name, which I loved.
It's great,
and I was hoping for something. Murphy's bad with that. It's weird. He'll do something really great and stand out. It's like, oh, okay. now he's figured it out how to do, and then he does something like Coming to America, where it's like, oh, we're just back to the same old shit. Which is like, all right, that's fine, I guess. But you know, I didn't hate it by any stretch of the imagination, but it wasn't one I was like, oh, I can't wait to buy that on Blu-ray. You know, I was like,
it's just a movie that I watched and I realized like I'll never see it again. I'll never watch it. Just exists, and that's all.
The only thing really great about it for me were the costumes. I thought the costumes in that movie were fucking amazing. But it's like you don't come back to it multiple times for the costumes. I can get pictures. I can get pictures of the costumes. I don't need to watch the movie again for that. But it was, it was disappointing.
So we got a new face on here, Carded or Dention. What's going on tonight, man?
What's up, guys?
Hey.
Join in.
So we got a bunch of people on here. If you guys want to ask or something or start a topic or whatever, you know, let us know.
No, fuck you. It's your goddamn show. Now you want us to figure out what to talk about? Jesus Christ.
We want you to do the heavy lifting.
It's the horror roundtable, man.
Okay.
Has anybody seen Godzilla vs. Kong yet?
No, not yet. I have not one. I'm saving that for later in the week. But you know, if it's anything like the other ones, I'm sure I'll enjoy it to a point, and then be kind of like, all right, you know. For me, it's just like, if it's just the monsters beating the shit out of each other, that'll be fine. But at the same time, it's like I've seen that. So you know, it's kind of hard to impress me with a bunch of creatures beating the shit out of each other. I've seen that so many times now. So I'm hoping it's the last Godzilla movie I was kind of disappointed in. I didn't. It just for some reason didn't really work for me very well. But then again, I've never been a huge Godzilla guy, so maybe I'm not the best audience for this. But I'm gonna definitely check it out. So
I was watching it before I got on here.
Oh yeah,
quite a bit of fun.
Oh good.
Didn't Adam Wingard direct that?
Yep. Yeah, he did. He's come a long way from Homesick, boy. I tell you, that's guys.
Yeah, that's bizarre. I saw.
I think Synapse posted something.
Somebody posted about that today. I was like, really?
Yeah. Yeah. That's funny. You watch Homesick and you're like, yeah, that's the guy we want for Godzilla versus Kong. It's like but he's had a hell of a transition. I mean, You're Next, and then the Blair Witch thing, and then he did that movie, The Guest. So he's come a long way. So I'm glad to see him doing so well. And apparently he's going to do a Thunderbirds movie next, or a Thundercats movie next.
Thundercats movie?
Yeah.
Jeez.
Because we need a lot. Because we need a lot.
We got to remake everything from childhood.
Yeah.
Well, no. Look at how well like the Cats movie did, and then how shitty Cheetah looked in the Wonder Woman movie. That's just going to be a whole movie.
Awesome. It's going to be just oodles of awesome. Yeah, and I'm just waiting. I can't wait next for Ridley Scott presents The Snorks.
Just as long as they keep Ridley Scott,
I'd buy a ticket for
as
that.
long as they keep him away from Alien.
Oh Christ! Okay,
what is the odds of that?
Okay, first of all, the fact that I would bring up The Snorks, weird enough. The fact that you didn't even have to get up.
Nope.
And just why? Why do you have why?
Good. He's been to the Goodwill.
Look what else I've got, man. The Brave Little Toaster.
That's fine. I have a problem with Brave Little Toaster, but why the fuck do you have the Snorks?
Why not?
Brave Little Toaster.
Seriously,
It's the Snorks, man.
Well, why did that ever get on? I remember that on 80s TV when I was a kid growing up, and even as a kid, not knowing anything about anything, going, they have dicks on their heads. That's weird.
The Smurfs underwater.
Yeah, and it's like, I didn't want the Smurfs above ground, so why do we want them underwater? You know, it's just like, whatever.
Something else I wanted to mention with you on here tonight. The Creep Show Season 2 is actually tomorrow, I think, is when it's...
I think so, yeah. Yeah.
Did you get a chance to get on set for that? I know we were talking about that a few months ago.
Sadly, no. That was a heartbreaker from last year. What happened was we were supposed to start shooting in March of last year, and I went down there. We worked everything out finally with AMC, and I was going to be on set every single day. And I went down there to Atlanta. I was in Atlanta for on Friday. We were going to start shooting Monday. Saw Greg, saw everybody down there. It was like, great. 4 hours later, they shut everything down because of COVID. And they said, everybody home. And I remember them saying, we'll call you. We'll probably be back up and running in 2, maybe 4 weeks. And even walking on, I'm like, this ain't going to be no 2 to 4 weeks. This is going to go on for a while. And I got back home and it went through the whole summer. And then when they resumed in September, I said, well, I'm ready to go back. And then let's just say that there was some forgetfulness on the companies, on the network's part as to, we were going to have you down there? And that's why I ended up not going down there. So it was a disappointment in the extreme that didn't happen. I really wanted to be there because it's Creepshow, I mean, it would have been fantastic. But at the end of the day, they managed to shoot. They shot 2 seasons of the show last year. They shot seasons 2 and 3. So they're already stacked up with episodes for the next couple seasons.
Awesome.
Yeah, I haven't seen any of them yet, but I'm looking forward to them.
Now, are they? I don't. Do they just upload the entire series, or they do one a week?
They do one a week. They've been doing it. Yeah, they've been doing it every.
Okay.
At least that's how they did with the first season. I'm pretty sure that's the pattern they're going to keep with the second. I think people are starting to they're starting to realize that dumping a bunch of episodes at once doesn't really build the momentum that they want in terms of publicity for a lot of the genre shows. It really doesn't do them any good. If it's like a multi-part documentary or a crime documentary, that's one thing, but that's something you want to binge in one sitting. And I like the fact that they're going to hold off and say, wait a minute, parcel this out. We got some time here, So I think that's the plan, that they're going to just do a 1 a week thing.
Yeah, I like that format better.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like with the even the big Netflix shows, when they release the whole season, I mean, it gets buzz, but it fades away way quicker than if you release something week by week. Like even a big show like Ozark on Netflix. I mean, it'll get people will talk about it for 2 weeks and then nothing.
Yeah, that's the problem. They get an initial burst of publicity, but then they don't get anything that keeps it going for the next several weeks. It worked really well for when they did WandaVision on Disney Plus. Every week, people were like, what the fuck is going on with the show? And so it kept building and building and building, where if they dumped it all at once, it would have been 1, maybe 2 weeks of people talking about it, and that would have been it. So it's a good model. It's frustrating when you want to watch it and you're like, oh God, I really want to know. But it gives you something to look forward to. So, and it's worked for 60, 70 years. We can keep going with that.
I'm curious, Felsher. Episodic horror TV, what would be your show? What would be your favorite?
I love the original Tales from the Dark Side. That was a really good show. And I would hope that at some point that show gets remastered properly, because the masters that are out there look terrible. It's Twilight Zone isn't really horror per se. It's more of a mix of several different genres, but the original Twilight Zone is great. I love the 80s iteration of the Twilight Zone as well. I thought that was a really, really good reboot. And it's a fun one to go back and watch now, because you see a lot of genre directors working in it, and a lot of actors who had never done anything and went on to become big stars in it. I think the first episode is Bruce Willis stars in it. And he hadn't done shit at that point. He hadn't done moonlighting, he hadn't done anything.
He was still Bruno.
Yeah, he is.
Bruno.
But so those are good. As far as other episodic horror, I tend to prefer more anthology kind of horror shows. I mean, I enjoyed the X-Files, but there were just some seasons of that show where it was just like, nah, I'm kind of over this.
No love for monsters?
I like Monsters. I didn't get into Monsters as much as Tales from the Dark Side. It's basically the same show under a different name anyway.
Yeah,
it is.
What about Tales from the Crypt?
I like Tales from the Crypt. I like Tales from the Crypt, but I've never been quite the devotee of that one, strangely enough, because it is basically, it's the inspiration for stuff like Creepshow, so you'd think I'd be more into it. But there are, for every episode of that show I really like, I find there's 2 or 3 that I'm like, I don't get what the appeal is, I guess. But they're all it's very well made. It's an exceptionally well made show. And, no, it's not one that I've really gotten back. I should go back and watch that again. It's been a long time since I've watched it. this.
Legal rights.
I think
for that
it's
show,
nostalgia.
Really
more for
bad
me.
off. Isn't the
What was
legal
that?
rights for that show like the legal rights for Tales in the Crypt? Like HBO has been in and Warner Brothers have been like in a legal battle for like 20 years. That's why you can't find it on any streaming service, not even HBO Max. It's like
It's weird, yeah.
the original comic book in EC Comics, who owns the rights to the name, and HBO. It's like because they tried to reboot it with M. Night Shyamalan. They like the president of TNT.
We dodged the
president of
bullet.
TNT came out and was like,
No.
like this is a legal nightmare. We can't even.
Yeah, there's something weird going on with that show. And that's another show where I think they edited on video. They didn't edit on film. They shot it on film. So to go back and redo and actually do HD presentations of the episodes be very cost prohibitive. Because there also were a lot of visual effects in that show. Whereas with like Tales from the Dark Side, they didn't have the money to do any fucking visual effects. So it would be relatively easy to go back and redo those. But it's like why they haven't done a lot of the later Star Trek shows, because it's like all the space battles and stuff would have to be redone because they were all produced for standard def video. And so that's another problem with Tales from the Crypt there. And then, there's an ownership issue. I think it's just one of those things where it's like it's not high profile enough for them to really kind of get into it and figure it out and spend a lot of money on it. But at the same time, they do want to kind of keep it going. But it's just kind of like, it's not the Avengers, so fuck it, basically.
Isn't that the answer for everything?
Another one
right now?
on here.
It's not the Avengers, so fuck it.
Yeah.
Nobody talks about this one. Ray Bradbury Theater.
Oh yeah. That one was on a lot. Remember The Hitchhiker? Yeah.
We were talking about that not too long ago.
That was the best. The theme music.
Part of that show is the theme music.
Yeah.
It's like
he's just walking along the street.
Well, the Hitchhiker was on for quite a while, though.
It
right?
was.
I mean,
it was on
for
a long
few
time.
years.
And I think they switched Hitchhikers at one point. If I don't remember.
They did, yeah.
Yeah, but because you can only hitch for so long. But it was, I remember that show. That show was always on USA at like 2 a.m. I'd be up doing something, and all of a sudden I'd be just sitting there. Oh, Hitchhiker's on. So
I think the first season that was like on HBO or something. I think
it was. I mean, it was for pay cable, but then it really kind of got syndicated, and you'd find it on after Rhonda Shear's Up All Night. Remember that? That was always on USA and stuff like that. They'd show all these weird movies, and Joe Bob and Monster Vision on TNT. And,
Saturday night.
Oh yeah. There was a lot of fun stuff on back then, and then at some point the fun came to an end.
Commander USA.
Yeah, God, man.
He was on in the afternoon on Saturdays. Like
yeah.
it's about that time. Fuck you! Start kicking me off randomly.
We got Uncle Bill back.
I'm like, it's like weird, like musical Hollywood squares. Like I'm moving up, you're moving down, and it's just like, does that mean I'm better than you now?
You're the secret square.
I can look down at you now.
We should have had like a baby blue background. It could have been like the Brady Bunch. Yeah.
We all kind of look up at each other.
Oh, that would have been amazing.
God. So I was thinking though, the thing about Tales from the Crypt, the only thing about that show that makes it really the show that I like the most is the fact that it was on HBO and they could do the violence and the language and everything else, where all the rest of the shows were kind of restricted by that. It's like a cable show.
Yeah. So that was one advantage, that they could pretty much do whatever the hell they wanted.
I ended up watching them all on Fox anyway, like its second run. So it was all edited.
Oh God, somebody's gonna get you.
Yeah, that was the first pair of tits I ever seen as a kid. Was on Tales from the Crypt.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Well, it was actually the movie Demon Knight.
Oh, well, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. There's some good. There's some nice nudity in Demon Knight. That's a fun movie. Bordello of Blood too, actually.
Yeah.
I'm not positive I've ever seen Bordello of Blood.
You know, that movie, I enjoyed that movie. It's not what I would call a good movie, but there's a lot of fun to be had in it. And it's actually a fond memory for me because the featurette that I did for that, I was stunned. Everybody was perfectly candid about what went wrong with the movie. They all just showed up and went, "Oh yeah, that sucked. That guy was an asshole." And it was just like, wow, okay. It's one of the most candid featurettes I've ever done. I mean, everybody cops to their shitty behavior or the fact that everyone hated Dennis Miller. Everyone down to the last person was just like, Dennis Miller was a prick, and here's why. And I was like, God damn. So it was just like, wow, this is usually not what happens. Usually people are kind of like, it was a challenging production, but not this one. It's like, nah, we were fucked. We were just like, damn, okay, all right.
Well, didn't the producers choose Bordello of Blood over From Dusk Till Dawn to be the...
That was one of the... Well, it wasn't the same thing. It was the people higher up. They had the chance between doing that or the From Dusk Till Dawn, but they were like, nah, let's do Bordello of Blood instead. Because it was a Robert Zemeckis, Bob Gale script, and Zemeckis was a producer on the show. So, like, we'll just do this one thing that Bob has lying around. And I'm like, yeah, all right.
When are we going to see the Scream Factory release for Ritual? That's what I want to know.
Probably never.
Jamaican Crypt.
It'll be one of those. It'll be one of those limited releases that they'll limit it to 10 per person on that one, though.
Listen,
so terrible.
We're making 500 copies, but you guys can get 10 apiece.
Have you guys ever gotten back in with Scream Factory?
No, we just keep digging ourselves like bigger fucking holes. Like that was
the night.
They're going to actually the night brief thing was fucking.
Yeah.
Oh god.
They're actually going to come by later and get like all of our Scream Factory DVDs and Blu-rays. Like we're never getting anything else, and they're actually going to come by.
We want that shit back.
Like, they want us to send. They want us to send it back. I'm going to shit in the box and mail it to them.
No, but seriously, fuck them, and like everybody.
Yes,
that
I stand by that.
No, don't tell me to fucking send it back. And if I ordered that limited edition and it got sent to me after somebody had already fucking opened it and watched it, I would throw a fit. Fuck that.
But I'm not gonna.
They probably resealed it.
All I'll say is,
no. And that is in no way affiliated with Michael Felsher.
I just said, you send it back. I'll tell you what I'll send, but I'll take a shit in the box and make it. Like, and they were so mad about that. I heard about that. It's like, this is just inexcusable. And
somebody's going to do that, I bet.
So people could start just like, come on, guys. It was clearly joking. He's not actually going to do that. But
like that's a trend that we're going to start.
Right, yeah.
Everybody's going to be shit
in the box. But it's just like,
it got bad enough where there was like rumblings of it. Like, They took it way more seriously than I thought they would. They were just like, this is unacceptable. Oh my god, we've never. It's like, guys, you gotta know these guys. They're not going to actually shit in a box and mail it to you. But that was just so funny. It was just like, I'm going to shit in a box.
They didn't send me a box. I mean, I may have been tempted. But I didn't get a box, so
yeah. So good way to not only burn that bridge, but then blow it up and then set off a radioactive bomb behind you, so nothing can ever grow there again ever.
I came across I'd had the voicemail from one of the Scream Factory representatives that we played on the show.
Oh, you did?
I found that on a hard drive. Yeah, where like this, she was getting like you could tell that she'd read this script like all damn day on and it was just great. Like I was like, damn, they really did that. And they paid people to call people and like, oh, we'll give you a $10 gift certificate if you can mail us back the correct
mail it back.
Give you
asshole.
Well, look, I don't have anything to do with the company. I don't have anything to do with the company in terms of that department. So I just produce
you're working
stuff
with Blue Underground now, man. That's where you should be. So,
now you're working with the real deal now.
Oh, I've always worked with Blue Underground. I've worked with them.
I'm talking about exclusively. Fuck Scream.
Yeah. Hey, I'll work for. You know what? If they want to pay me enough, I'll work exclusively for fucking anybody. I don't give a shit. I'm a whore. I don't give a shit.
Arrow. You go to Arrow.
Yeah, But none of these companies have that kind of cash.
You haven't done anything with Vinegar Syndrome yet, have you?
A little bit. I've helped them find some archival materials and some images, and I just gave them a trailer for one of their upcoming releases. But no, they have their own people and stuff, so it's like they really don't need me to get in. What I have done for them is I've done some reconstructions of some of the films, like the ones that were shot on video or shot on film but edited on video. I've gone back and they will scan all the negative, and I have to go back in and reconstruct the film from scratch, basically. And I've done a couple of those for them. One of their upcoming releases, Beyond Dream's Door, I did that for them, and then there's another one for a movie that they haven't announced yet. And then I've done that. I did that for Kino for Trilogy of Terror 2. I had to reconstruct that one. And David Gregory's Plague Town, I did that one for him. And another one that's just coming up, which I can't talk about yet because they haven't announced it. And then I'm working on another one for them. So I've done about 6 of them, and it's a time-consuming process because you have to go through all the takes and find the one they use and match it up to the existing master, and make sure if there's fades or transitions, you have to match that stuff. It's time-consuming, but it's kind of rewarding. It's like a big jigsaw puzzle from hell. It's actually kind of fun. So I've done that for Vinegar Syndrome. I'll probably do some more like that in the future.
That's a confusing company because they'll put out stuff like Beastmaster and Rad, and then Planet of the Gapes 4 or whatever is coming out.
They do anything and everything. They're very their whole thing is that if we have an audience for it or someone out there wants to buy it, we'll put it out.
I was pumped that they put The Fear out.
The Fear, yes. Really, old Wooden Face or whatever it was. Yeah.
I'm really hoping for like a Pinocchio's Revenge Blu-ray from them at some point.
That's over at Lionsgate. That's not going anywhere for a while.
Really?
Well,
really?
It's got to be The Sailor then. That has to be the other movie that they're doing.
Oh, the Kevin Tenney one that you're talking. Yeah, it's not. Yeah. It's not Pinocchio's Revenge. It's not that one.
Damn it!
So that because I told Kevin Tenney,
I don't think it is, but I don't see how it could be. So.
If if you let them fucking hysteria continue, guys, do a commentary for Pinocchio's Revenge, I'm going to be offended because that's kind of our movie.
Yeah, right, but people don't really.
Is it?
I've tried to get your commentary. Here's the thing. I tried to get your commentary reapproved for the Friday the 13th set. I sent it back in, and
never gonna happen.
Well, Paramount reviewed. No, they reviewed that, and they reviewed another commentary track I sent in for them as well. And the word came back, no. And there was no further elaboration as to what the objection. It wasn't one of those ones where it's like, all right, cut this out. It was just no.
I loved that commentary because it was you guys like on your best behavior, and you could hear it. Like you were trying very hard not to offend anyone.
It evidently still offended them.
And it still wasn't good enough. It was still
No, that's the thing. That's why we should never do shit like that. We should never try because, like, in the end, what do? We just compromised ourselves and they didn't give a fuck anyway. Why is it always got to be companies like Paramount that fucking have issue with us? Like,
they have morals.
I have issues with everybody. I've never worked for them directly. I've done stuff that Scream Factory's licensed for them, but I've never worked for them directly. They've never hired me. They've hired people that I know and they're in the business, but they've never hired me. So I'm just like, all right, fine. But
something else though about Paramount, believe it or not, well, I think it was Cliff McMillan. I'd seen him the interview that we did with Danny Steinman to put on the box set, right? And he was all excited and shit. And he was like, "Oh, who else do you have?" or whatever. And then, like, evidently they had gotten with Paramount on it. And Danny Steinman's been dead for what, 6 years, or I don't know,
6, 7, 8 years, yeah, something like that, yeah.
So evidently they still needed a release. They wanted a release.
Yeah,
okay.
And I'm like, okay,
how's that going to work?
He doesn't have a next of kin anyway. I don't even know who's in charge of his estate, if he even has an estate. I mean, he died kind of alone, and it was just kind of a sad situation. So yeah, I don't know who you get. Thing is, I have his signature on stuff, so it's like I could just here. He signed it over. He signed it back then, thinking in the future that he might do this. You know, it's just like, But yeah, it's weird the things that they hung. My guess is they didn't want to use it, and they used that as an excuse so that they didn't. Because it's like even they would have to know. It's like dead man can't sign shit. That's kind of. I think that's something most people understand, but you know, what are you going to do?
True that. You actually have a question here from. Let's see if I can get Draft House Fan 1. He's he or she, I'm not really sure, is asking about the limited to 1,000 releases. I guess the ones that Scream Factory are doing. Mm-hmm. Do you think that has an impact on your work at all?
Well, I mean, on titles like that, chances are they're not going to do a lot of extras. But then also, the chances are they wouldn't have done a lot of extras for those titles anyway. So I don't think that really impacts me too much, no. Because those are titles that they know we're not going to get a lot of distribution to begin with. So those are ones they wouldn't have had much of a budget for anyway. So at the end of the day, it's like, no, I don't think that's really hurt me too much, if at all, really.
The thing I never could understand, though, are the ones recently, and I don't think I've talked to you about this, where, like, it's only 1,000 copies. That's nothing. I mean, that's very freaking limited.
Yeah.
And they're not really limiting, well, it's 5 per person or something like that. I'm like, what the hell's the deal with that? You're almost encouraging the scalpers at this point.
Well, at the end of the day, they just want to, I don't know. I don't know the economics behind it, really. So that's not really my department. My job is to want to work on this title. Sure, yes. Then I just deliver the stuff, and I stay out of the rest of that's their call. So I don't know why they're doing that particular run, but you know, if it makes sense for them financially, why not? You know.
Right. I mean, I guess if you're in business just to sell them all, then fuck it. I mean, I wouldn't limit it at all. Just let one guy buy them all.
Well, Anchor Bay, back in the day, we used to, do limited editions, and I think we did technically the Book of the Day was a limited edition, but it was like, I think we did 200,000 of them. And I said, that's not very limited. And he said, and I'll never forget the marketing manager on the title said, there is no set. They're limited to the amount of them that we can sell. I'm like, wait, what? And it's like, exactly. And then it was just like, okay. So this is basically bullshit. Oh, no, it's not basically bullshit. It's completely bullshit. But at the end of the day, it's just like, yeah, we'll stop. It'll be limited when we stop selling it. So it's like, oh, okay, that's fine. Okay.
Do you think that...
how often that really happens, though, too? Like, that has to happen more than anybody ever knows.
Oh, there's a lot of... but at the end of the day, there's a lot of just... salesmanship, and it's just trying to get people out there to buy these things and hurry up, and that's what the slipcovers things are for. I mean, people go crazy for slipcovers. I mean, does it have a slipcover? They'll buy slipcovers by themselves off of eBay and stuff, and it's like
that's actually big business now. Like I was amazed.
You
go on there, and you can like get 5 slipcovers for like $125.
I know,
without the disc, just the disc.
Nothing else,
just the slipcovers. Yeah. And
there's a whole Facebook group dedicated to buying and selling Scream Factory slipcovers.
Yeah, so much so that I've gone through my collection and go, do I need these slipcovers? I think I can make them again.
I'm like, do I really need Prince of Darkness slipcovers?
Speaking of which, Slippy, when's the next big auction? Everybody's got this STEMI check.
Oh, God.
I mean, you got to look a little extra
I've never heard it called a STEMI check before.
STEMI.
That STEMI check.
I got my STEMI check. Yeah. STEMI check. I don't know when the next auction is going to be because I don't really have anything left. The only thing I've got one thing up on eBay right now, which is the Silent Night, Deadly Night art piece. The original artist, Corey Wolf, who designed the poster for Silent Night, Deadly Night 2.
I saw where you were selling that.
Yeah, he did several pencil sketches of ideas he had. One was the ornament, the classic ornament, and one was the Santa Claus hacking his way through a door. They didn't use that one, but I have it, and I've mounted it in a frame and put a colored background behind it. And so I've got that one up for sale right now because I didn't want to keep both of the ones I had. but I don't really have a whole lot of other stuff to sell at the moment. So it's one of those things where, you know, I do an auction, but I would just be sitting here going, who wants this pen?
Hey man, I've seen people buy shit from you at like almost double what like you can get it on Amazon for. Just go on Amazon and buy shit and be like, yeah, this is totally what they.
Some of the DVDs and stuff, or some of the Blu-rays, I was just like, this went for $30. You can buy it at Walmart for $10.
Yeah,
I'm not going to argue, and I want your money, but at the same time, it's like, guys, thanks.
Well, a lot of time too. You were raising money for stuff as well, so
there was that. Yeah, at the next auction I do will probably be another one for the cat rescue, if and when I can get some more stuff in. Because I used to do, up until last year, once a year, twice a year, I would have a table at Cinema Wasteland and sell all the stuff that the studios would donate to me for the cat rescue, and I would make $3-4 grand for them, you know, at a show. So I've been thinking about maybe trying to do one of those online at some point.
Oh yeah.
But that's because I don't know if Cinema Wasteland's coming back anytime soon. So,
Michael, did you end up selling the figures that I sent? I don't know if you remember me. Eric from Sideshow. We did the tour.
Yeah. Hey, how you doing, man? I still have pictures from the tour that we did. That was fun. I really enjoyed the hell out of that tour.
Awesome.
That was. When I was in California, he invited me out to the Sideshow headquarters and took me all around and saw all the stuff that they had done, were doing, and were hoping to do, and never got to do, and it was a fascinating. I think my favorite thing was the big wall of R2D2s, all the custom R2D2s that every artist would take and deconstruct and do weird shit to. I just love that. That was a lot of fun. That was a lot of fun.
Cool, man.
But those figures sold big time.
Awesome.
Because there's always one guy who's into the high end stuff. And I priced him at such a thing that was less than what he could get if he went on eBay or something. So, I want that. So the Jack Burton went like that. It was just like,
awesome.
Come on. Yeah.
Dude, there was the one guy, I wanted to fucking strangle him to death. I think he had like an Italian name or something. He would just go in there and he would spend he had to spend $5,000 to $10,000 in every one of those auctions. I've never seen anybody spend that much money.
Yeah, there's a couple of guys, especially if it's Romero stuff, that goes really fast. I mean, that's always, you know.
You sold, I don't know if you remember this, Felsher, but I was like, this is when I knew, I need to get the hell off here because I'm not getting anything. You sold it was a Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It was just a lobby card.
Oh, that was signed by everybody.
It was signed by. It was like what, $500 and some dollars. I was
that was $550 or something like that. But it was signed by everybody, including Jim Seedow and people who were impossible to get back then.
That's true.
But I wasn't expecting that because that one kept going up. Yeah, I had every single person, every member of the cast, and it was just like, God damn! Maybe I shouldn't let this go. This may be worth more than I'm thinking it is. It was the highest item I've ever had. Needless to say, that got packaged very carefully and insured up the ass when it went out the door. It's like, I can't afford to refund this thing. What are my thoughts on the newest TCM sequel coming up? I don't have any thoughts on it right now because how many sequels have there been to that movie already at this point? And apparently this one's, once again, it's going to be a sequel directly to the original. And it's like, well, they've done that several times too. So, look, I hope it's good. I hope it's entertaining. They got apparently some good people behind it. But it's hard for me to get excited at this point. I just need to see it, at this point.
I'm kind of excited that
and a universe.
The Leatherface universe, the Sawyerverse.
What did you think of the Alexander Daddario one? I know you worked on the disc, but
I did a lot of stuff for the disc. What did I think of the movie?
Yeah.
I thought, here's the thing about that movie. I thought they really tried to do something different with that. I think they tried to do something that really tied itself to the original. I love the opening that takes place back in the original, right after the events of the first movie. But it's just, for me, ultimately, I have some problems. And I really like Dan Yeager's Leatherface. I thought he did a very good job. But for everything I liked about a movie, there'd be a line like "Do your thing, cuz." I'm like,
yeah, it's trick or treat, motherfucker.
Yeah, there was
things like lines like that.
Yeah, and it was just kind of like, that's kind of silly.
Is that but where like 100 people ended up being in the Sawyer house?
Yeah, there were a lot of people in that house all of a sudden.
Dude, there were people in the attic, apparently. You never saw, just like chilling out in the basement.
Well, originally there was supposed to be, and I saw there was some footage that showed members of the family showing up.
Oh.
Like, so that they drove up and were like, hey, we heard something's going on here. They weren't just there. So it's a little confusing when all of a sudden you walk back in and there's like, was there a meeting happening that we didn't know about before?
I probably would have put that into the film, Felsher. The part where they drive up, I probably would have included that.
Yeah, because it's just because it's just like otherwise it's like, where's the Sawyers? And you are, because I don't know who the fuck these other 10 people are. But at the end of the day, it was like, whatever. And the thing about that was I included, there was some footage of Gunnar on the set when he was going through the house and he went up to the metal door, their recreation of the metal door. And he was like, could you slam the door? And he's like, all right. And he slams the door. And then he opened it back up and he went, here's how Andrew Bynarski shuts the door. And I left that in. And I remember I contacted Gunnar and said, there's this thing in there I'd love to leave it in. Do you mind? Because it might piss him off. He's like, I don't give a fuck. Fuck him. And so we put it in there. And apparently he did get pissed off about it. But it's like, I don't care. Fuck that guy.
That's also where you got the John Dugan boner story too, right?
Oh, Jesus. I've told that story. Have you heard that? You've heard that story, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Would you want me to tell that story?
Tell that story.
I don't recall it. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. We did a commentary for it. The timing just worked out. I wanted to do a commentary for Chainsaw 3D that was all the Chainsaw alumni that were in the film. Mosley, Marilyn Burns, Gunnar, and John Dugan. And as it turned out, while I was in production, they were all at a convention together in Atlanta, a Days of the Dead show. So I worked it all out with them, and I said, we'll record Saturday night. And then they're like, well, Michael, what are we going to talk about? Because we're all each individually in the movie for about maybe a minute and a half. And I'm like, I don't care. We'll just talk about whatever the fuck, because it's just having the four of you together is amazing to me. And it went great. There was a lot of stories and back and forth and just sharing stuff. And hardly anything about the movie at all, but I didn't care. Well, at one point, John Dugan said, there's a story I've never talked about. I'm Grandpa from the original, and I'm on the set, and there's the finger sucking scene where I have to suck Marilyn's fingers, draws the blood and all that. Well, it was hot and I was tired, and she's a pretty young girl, and I'm a young man, and I couldn't help myself when I'm sucking on her finger. I got a little bit, turned on. I couldn't help. And everybody in the room went, oh, my God, oh, no. And it's like, no. And John Dugan's kind of like, no, I'm not trying to be, I'm not trying to be boastful or anything, but I'm not trying to. And he was kind of a little bit embarrassed that, but everyone took it in the spirit in which it was intended, but everything. So we moved on from that. Sunday morning, I come down, and there were two dealers' rooms. John was in one with a few of the other cast, and then some of the other ones were in the other room. And it was about maybe half an hour before the show started, and I walk into the one room, and John Dugan's there. He sees me and comes over and goes, Michael, I hope people don't take that the wrong way, that story about the thing that happened. It's like, no, John, they're not going to take it. And I had to talk him off the ledge for like 5 minutes about this story. It's just like, John, no, seriously, the way you tell it, the way people are not going to think you're trying to be crude or gross or anything about it. You told it in a funny way. It's going to go over just fine. There was nuance to it. There was context. Don't worry about it. It's like, okay, all right. Walk over to the other dealer's room, and Mosley's setting up. And I walk up to Mosley, and I say, hey, Bill, that was really a lot of fun last night. Thanks a lot. And he goes, hey, yeah, well, that was really something about that John Dugan boner story, wasn't it? I was like, oh, so much for context, so much for nuance. It's now the John Dugan boner story. He was like, oh, that was really wild, man. And I was like, okay, well, shit. That's like, I'm not going to tell John about that, but it was like, oh, so now it's the John Dugan boner story. So yeah, I just think, oh man, but that was a fun night. It's sad. Two of those people are gone now. Marilyn and Gunnar are both gone now. But it was a fun weekend. It was great to be able to do stuff like that, especially when you look back and realize, oh my God, to have had that opportunity was just a great time.
the commentary actually made the DVD.
Oh yeah,
I don't have. Oh, okay, I may actually try to pick that up then.
Yeah, there's
Probably worth checking out just for the commentary.
There's a lot. Yeah, there was a lot of stuff. I did.
I think it was actually super packed.
It was really packed. Yeah, and the behind the scenes stuff is, I think, more interesting than the movie itself. But I'm prejudiced, of course. But they shot a lot of great stuff on set. It was a lot of fun to put that stuff together.
Mm-hmm.
That was 8 years ago. God damn, that's hard to believe.
John Dugan.
That's crazy.
He was an interesting guy, man.
I like John's a fun, and I'm really glad to see he's made it through this the cancer and everything. He came pretty close to leaving us there, but he's fought back, and he's a really good guy. I like John a lot. I mean, the few times I encountered him at first, I think we've all had John Dugan's had a few too many at the convention stories.
Yes.
He could get a little bit, but he's a really good guy, and I like him a lot. He's been someone I've enjoyed. I saw him at the last Rock and Shock show. He was there, and it was. In fact, I did a panel with him and Mosley and I think Dan Yeager and I think I told the John Dugan boner story at that panel with Mosley sitting right next to me. It's weird to do a Mosley impression with Bill sitting right next to you, but it was just like, what are you going to do?
The first time I ever met him, he was walking into a hotel and he had like a camera bag, which I thought just had like a video camera or something like that in it, or like a nice Nikon or something. And we went back to his hotel room. I can't remember why now, for whatever reason. And he opened it up and it had like 6 or 8 Heinekens in it. And like he just started like taking out beer, and he gave me a beer and he started drinking. And he was just, I don't know. He was a cool guy.
I remember like
for alcohol.
Yeah,
he gets like right in your fucking face too when he's talking to you when he's drinking, and it's like it was like uncomfortable.
Yeah,
but he is. I mean, he's one of those guys that we would always talk to at shows. The first Fright Night Film Fest is like the first show I even knew what the guy looked like, because he didn't do shows for a long time.
Oh no, he didn't. No,
I don't know. Yeah.
God, do you remember that? Do you remember that Fright Night at that convention center that the air conditioning went out and it was the hottest goddamn thing in the history of the universe? Oh my God. And then
I'll never forget it. Yeah.
Oh God, you walk in there and be like, and it was just, you'd start sweating before you even got to your table. You were lucky in that you had a table right by the door, so it was a little cooler, by a little, but it was, oh my God, that was horrendous. And then he moved to an even hotter hotel the next year. I was just, how did you figure that out? How did you do this? It was just a disaster.
I swear to God, I don't know how that show like kept going. Like any fucking like puddle that you could step in, any mistake you could make, that dude made it, and that show still they're having that show this year.
They are.
They're having it.
I thought
the same hotel that you were talking about, the one where we were by the door. It's the exact same hotel.
They're going back there?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's just saying fuck the world.
The last one I remember is when
they fixed the air conditioning, hopefully. Yes.
Well, they're not.
I thought that shit was over after they ended up having it like last minute in like an abandoned mall or some shit.
You remember that with the dead raccoon, where people actually made like raccoon commemorative memorial T-shirts? They found like a dead raccoon in the place that they were doing the convention.
Oh, I remember there was the one they moved to the year after the hot box, which was an even bigger hot box. It was for some reason the hotel, their air conditioners weren't working, and the whole one side of the hotel was all these floor to ceiling windows, and it was sunny as hell, and it just superheated the hallway outside this one block of rooms. If you couldn't walk down there without passing out. They couldn't even rent any of those rooms out because it just superheated everything. It was like the surface of the fucking sun. And I made the mistake of accidentally walking down that hallway, and I'm like, oh God! And I was like, what? Where does he find these places? I mean, it was just, I couldn't. So yeah, and he never, I can only think of maybe one hotel he was at twice. There was always a different location somewhere along the line.
The guest lineup, it looks like total shit.
I don't know. I haven't seen it.
Oh, the one this year? I think he's like the Fandom Fest thing is what you're talking about, the one at the mall.
Yeah,
right.
It was at a Macy's or something like that.
And it was like the week before
And,
they moved to it.
And, they stopped doing those shows for a long time, and then he just went back to doing, smaller, like Friday Night Film Fest shows.
Triple Crown. Oh, this isn't the same hotel. This doesn't look like the same. The hotel. This was 3 minute. Oh, that's right behind the event. Oh.
Yeah, I think it's the same one.
Oh, God help us all! That can't possibly be the same one. I'm gonna investigate this while
maybe
you guys
they
are
fixed the air conditioning. Yeah,
that's not enough to get rid of the bad juju around that building. There was the hotel it was attached to was a disaster area.
Those shows, though, those and the first couple of Scarefest shows were the ones where we actually had the most kind of access to be able to like go talk to people and meet people. That's actually where we got the majority of our stories and stuff from too.
Mm-hmm.
So I actually have a pretty fond memories of those particular shows. But you're right though, the locations and the whole thing was a mess.
I always liked Scarefest in Lexington. That was always a good show. They always held it at the convention center downtown, and it was. I always enjoyed those shows. Those were fun.
You saved our ass that first year, Felsher. I don't know if you remember that. Or maybe it was the second year. We were supposed to do, and I don't even know how the fuck we got roped into doing this. It was the Friday the 13th panel, like reunion for the first film, right?
Oh yeah, because Paramount was filming that there.
Yeah,
for one of their DVDs. Yeah,
they had us be the hosts, but they told us about it. See, if I remember this correctly, told us about it like it was that day, the day of. Yeah. And we were like, we just walked in there.
I was like, what the fuck? And it was packed. It was full.
It was a full room. Yeah, I do remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Adrian King was there. Wasn't Betsy there? I think Betsy was there.
Yeah, they were all there.
Tom was there, and Victor Miller was there.
Yep.
I
think the only one that wasn't there was probably Cunningham. I don't think he was there.
Well, when would that have been? I can't remember what year.
2006. No, wait, I'm wrong.
It was right before those special edition DVDs came
2008,
out.
I think.
Because Paramount was filming there for the first 3 or 4 films. And Oh yeah, I remember that. I remember I played a prank on Uncle Bill with Tom Savini. I had Tom be mean to him, and when he went up to me, and was just like, "I don't want to talk." That was
awesome. That was amazing.
Have you talked to Savini, by the way? Or he had an accident earlier this week.
He's doing fine. He was riding his bicycle and he got hit by a car.
Oh shit!
And he was in the hospital briefly. Didn't break any bones or anything. He's fine. His head went through the windshield, and he's fine. Because Tom is apparently immortal.
He's fucking 75 years old or something, right?
Well,
How old is he?
Well, Tom is, I think, 73 or something like that. Of course, he still looks like he's in his early 50s. But the thing is, Tom, he texted me images of him at the hospital in the bed with his mask on, and then his cut on his scalp, or, he got a little bit of a wound up there. But he didn't tell me what was going on. All I got were like 4 photos of him in the hospital looking banged up. And I'm like, what the fuck happened to Tom? And then at the end, he said, oh, by the way, I was in an accident. I'm fine. No, I'm home now. No bones broken. I'm like, dude, start off with that first before sending me 4 photos of you lying there looking like you're on your deathbed. Don't bury the lead like that. It's like, oh, I'm sorry. But no, he's fine. He's doing fine. He's just got a little shook up, as anyone would be in that situation. But, he was home that same day, so he's fine. He's doing good.
He was a stunt man. Maybe he leaned into it or something. He had some trick when he got in. He's just like.
Well, there are ways to. I mean, honestly, there are ways if you are going to get hit by a car, if you tuck your body just right and aim your body at the last second a certain way, you can save yourself a host of injuries by doing. They've shown how to do that. But who knows what the accident was? I don't know if he had enough time to react or whatever. Just got lucky, but he's good. He's doing good. So there's been stuff running around like Tom Savini's in the hospital. It's like he was. He's not anymore. He's fine. He's good.
73 years old and gets hit by a car and is fine. That's
he's immortal.
Amazing in himself.
He's immortal. He's not going to die. He'll be 105 and then he'll look 70. And then it'll be like, that's great. Yeah. He was at where was he? Oh, Mad Monster Party in Charlotte just a few years ago, and he did a photo op as Sex Machine from Dusk Till Dawn.
So he was just Tom Savini.
Yeah,
basically.
Yeah. He's got the leather jacket, the crotch rock, and all that. And I walk into the room to see him, and he's sitting there, and I'm like, Tom, you made that movie 23 years ago, and you look like you just walked off the set 5 minutes ago. And he went, yeah. And I'm like, I fucking hate you. And I'm just like, what? It's not my fault. I'm like, yeah, I look older than you do right now, and I'm 30 years younger than you. But it's just like,
we were talking about the, I think it's debuting on Shudder this summer, the George Romero movie, The Amusement Park.
Yeah.
Do you know anything about that?
Yeah, well, Shudder's going to, it was, the reason this was kind of lost for a long time is it was sort of a work for hire thing he did. It was supposed to be sort of a promotional kind of thing for the Lutheran Church to talk about, aging and so forth, and the treatment of senior citizens. Of course, George being George, he made it into this sort of kind of out there sort of cautionary tale of, with a little bit of a horror bent to it, kind of like a Carnival of Souls kind of thing. And the Lutheran Church went, oh, never mind, we're good. And so it just kind of got buried and forgotten about. And George didn't really ever think about it because it wasn't a project he generated. It was just something he did, as a work for hire. But it turned back up not too long ago, and they've restored it, and it's going to be on Shudder. And it's a very interesting movie. It's only like 60 minutes long, but it's a very interesting piece, and it's certainly it feels very much of a period during the time in which he made it, because it was around the time of the crazy Season of the Witch before Martin in there. So it feels like something that he was doing during that particular period of his career. And it's interesting. It's not a horror film per se, although it has some pretty intense moments in it. The lead actor in it was Uncle Kuda from Martin, Lincoln Maisel. He's the lead actor in the piece. And it's definitely, if you're a Romero fan, it's definitely something worth watching.
It was during Romero's auteur phase. So it was during his auteur phase between Night of the Living Dead and Dawn of the Dead, when he was like experimenting more, like with Martin.
Yeah, he was doing a lot of experiment, and he was editing his own stuff back then and trying some very kind of, because even in some of the films he did back then that didn't work necessarily, kind of like Season of the Witch, there's some fantastic editing going on. It's some really kind of almost psychedelic stuff that he was trying to experiment with, and really kind of just exploring, different areas of film. And it's an interesting period of his career where you can just kind of see him, let me try this. That didn't work. Well, let me try this and figure this out. And he really kind of, and then by the time Martin and Dawn of the Dead come around, he had really honed his kind of style and his vision. And you can just see how but you can see it developing through those movies, and certainly in the amusement park as well.
Do you think that, Felsher, he got kind of like pigeonholed though?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, honestly, God, like if I look at those movies, if he had like a bigger budget, those movies are amazing anyway, but they would have been like classics. You would have looked at them like you look at like Night of the Living Dead and Dawn of the Dead now. I mean, the Crazies and Martin and Night Riders and all those movies. It just seems to me like he could have continued to make movies like that, but he kind of just got like, after Dawn of the Dead, it's just like, fucking, this is what you're doing.
You could say it even happened after Night of the Living Dead. And George, his whole thing was, look, he got pegged as a horror guy very early on. This happens to a lot of filmmakers, Tobe Hooper, John Carpenter, a lot of people who would have, had they had their druthers, tried other genres and gotten to do other things. And George used to say, I would be happy to go make A Tree Grows in Brooklyn, but they're not going to give me money for that. However, if I want to do something, a Western, or if I want to do something about societal collapse and the haves and the have-nots, and I throw some zombies in there, then there's money for that. So I'll use the zombies to tell the stories I would like to tell, and I can still do that, and I still love doing that anyway. So, he rebelled against the pigeonholing to an extent, but he also knew how hard it was to get a movie made, period. So if there was money to do a movie and all he had to do was figure out a way to make it a zombie thing to some extent, he was like, it's a path of least resistance. And at this point, I can't say no to that. And that he had a chance to do some non-horror. I mean, Night Riders was one. He almost did this assassination drama in Cuba with Ed Harris and Al Pacino that came this close to being made. And there were several other non-horror things that he almost got a chance to do, but it just never came together. Because sometimes it's just hard for people to see. Once you're that guy, you're that guy and you do that thing, then we're not going to, even Wes Craven had difficulty. He used Scream to do a violin drama with Meryl Streep. Because he wanted, it's like, I don't want to do something where someone has to die every 5 minutes. But even John Carpenter, John Carpenter got the chance to do stuff like, Starman, do something a little bit outside of his wheelhouse. But at the end of the day, people are like, oh, but you're that horror guy, or you're that.
They just keep dragging them back in.
Yeah. But George was, at the end of the day, it was just, especially towards the end when it was just like, it's so hard to get a movie financed at all. So he was like, when Survival of the Dead came up, he wasn't really ready to make another movie at that point so soon after Diary, but it was like, the financing's there. They're ready to go. As a filmmaker, I can't turn that down. I can't just say, wait, the train's on the track and there's going to be a movie made. I'm at the age where I can't sit around and say, wait for the next train to come by because there may not be one,
Yeah.
With the way...
Wasn't he supposed to... I'm sorry.
Go ahead, sorry.
Wasn't he supposed to... He was originally penned to do like a Resident Evil movie in like the late 90s?
There was a whole period in the 90s, starting from around 93, 94, all the way to right before the turn of the century there, 2000. He was in development on several films and book adaptations with major studios, MGM, Universal. He was greenlit on The Mummy. One of the many iterations of the Mummy remake they've been developing. They approved his script. He had a budget. He had everything ready to go, and they were going to go into pre-production. But they needed to free him from a contract to do a film I think it was called Before I Wake, which was set up over at MGM. And that hadn't happened yet, and it didn't look like it was going to happen. They just needed to get a release from the producer that saying, hey, George is free to come over here and do The Mummy, which we're ready to get to film. The producer of that said, no, we're going to make this, screw that. George lost The Mummy, and Before I Wake never happened. And then he was going to do Resident Evil. He shot the commercial.
He wrote a script that was based on Resident Evil 2 that they were going to produce, I think.
Yeah, he went all the way with he shot the commercial.
Wasn't he supposed to do
for that.
Pet Cemetery too? Wasn't that originally?
He was
Brad Renfro, right?
Brad Renfro, and then the German company at some point went, no, we don't want to. We want to do something different, and so George was off of that. But he came very close to doing Resident Evil. He was going to do Pet Cemetery. In fact, the reshoot of the ending of Monkey Shines cost him Pet Cemetery. He was still signed up to do it. He had left Laurel Entertainment, his company with Richard Rubenstein at that point, but they were still going to do Pet Cemetery together. And unfortunately, Orion wanted to reshoot and redo the ending of Monkey Shine, and so he wasn't available to start Pet Cemetery, so he was out of that. He was going to do The Girl Who Loved Tom Gordon, another Stephen King book. The Stand was something he and Stephen King were going to do for years. There was a whole bunch of different ones. I mean, the list of unmade George Romero projects is like 5 times longer than what he actually ended up making. But he told me between Dark Half and Bruiser was that period where he was just in all these development deals. He said, Mike, I made more money during that period than I made it all my other periods of my career combined. Made more money, it was more money than I ever had made in my career. And yet not one fucking thing came out of it. Nothing. It was like 7 years of my prime of my career, just nothing came of it. And so that he got soured on the Hollywood development thing and never really wanted to go back to it again. He never really did, actually. Because actually Land of the Dead, although it was distributed by Universal, was made for a separate company. It just got picked up by Universal later. So it was, but even that experience was like, this is too big. it's too big and too much shit and too many things that you can't control. He just didn't want to go down that road again, which is why the subsequent films he did were much smaller affairs that he had much more control over.
I was going to ask you about that, if you had insight into what his experience was like working with Universal for that film. But you said it was produced by a separate company.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't have – Universal wasn't that big a deal with him. I mean, his issues with Universal came in when they rushed the release of the movie. Originally, it was supposed to come out in October of 2005, but there was another film, I think it was Doom, I think maybe, with The Rock.
Dwayne Johnson.
They needed more time on, or something happened, and they moved Land of the Dead up to June. But they didn't leave him any time to get a trailer together, really, or to get any advance word out. And they opened it between Batman Begins and War of the Worlds. It had no chance. And even though it got some of the best reviews of any movie that summer, it got a lot of really great reviews, but there just wasn't time to build up any anticipation for it. And also Universal wanted to have it out on a DVD or Blu-ray by October. So they just kind of, threw it away. So that was really where the big issues with Universal came in. But Universal wasn't really a presence during the making of the movie so much. It was much more of this other company. The Atmosphere was the name of who they made the movie for. And it was a trying production for him because it was just physically a very challenging film to make. A lot of exteriors, a lot of big set pieces set outside, and it was cold as fuck in Toronto when they were shooting it. Same situation happened in Survival of the Dead too. It's just like, God damn, George, could you set one of these things in the Bahamas, please? It was please, just more in the summer. Zombies do run around in the summer. It would be nice to do that. But Universal wasn't really the big problem in terms of making the movie. It was kind of more what happened afterwards.
You got a great story about Asia Argento.
No, I don't. No, I don't. Okay. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, never mind. You don't have any stories about that.
Nope, don't know what you're talking about. Never met her. Never seen it. Nope.
Ooh. Oh God!
Did you get in trouble for the cigarette story? Is that why you won't talk about it?
No, I've never gotten in trouble for that story. Please tell me you've all heard that story.
It's a great story.
It somewhere. I can't remember. It was on with DEADPIT or something. I've heard you tell that story.
Okay. I was on the set of Land of the Dead for 2 nights. First night, I was just kind of hanging around watching things. Second night, I got to be a zombie, which was like one of the greatest nights of my life. But the first night, they were shooting in this unfinished suburban neighborhood. The houses were all like 3/4 of the way built. And the road wasn't even finished yet. It was all dirt road, and it rained that night, and it was really slick and muddy and nasty. And it's the scene where Dead Reckoning comes in, and they're going to try to prevent the launch of the missiles towards the Fiddler's Green building. So the whole cast is there for this. John Leguizamo, Simon Baker, and Asia Argento. And they had one of the garages for one of the houses open. That's where Video Village was. And it was freezing cold out that night. And so to warm up the garage, they had this huge heater. It looked like a big engine off of a jet airplane. And it was fire roaring in the son of a bitch. I mean, it was a fan. And around the edge of this big heater were all these little blobs of plastic, multicolored plastic, where people's coat buttons had accidentally brushed up against it and instantly melted to the frame of the heater. That's how hot this thing was. So it was several feet back from the mouth of the garage. But I didn't go in there. I was like, oh, I don't want to bother anybody. I just want to hang outside. Well, eventually it got just too cold. I needed to warm up. And the cast was out doing a rehearsal for a take. So it's like there was nobody in there anyway. So I was like, okay. So I go in there and I close my eyes and I'm standing at the front of the garage just letting the heater just defrost me. And I'm like, oh, God. And I'm standing there and suddenly I become aware that there's someone standing to my right. And so I open my eyes and I look over and it's Asia Argento. Now, at the time I was working for Anchor Bay Entertainment, we were getting ready to do Trauma, Dario Argento's Trauma on DVD. And we had been wanting to get her for an interview. And I thought, oh, this is perfect. She's standing right here. I could talk to her about this mention we're doing. Maybe we could work something out. And I'm not really nervous. At least I think I was, because it's like, I've met celebrities before. And, it's like, I know how to comport myself around a celebrity. So I'll introduce myself, tell her where I'm from, mention trauma, see, whatever. Well, I don't know what the fuck happened between the time I thought that to the time I turned and opened my mouth to talk to her, because something went horribly wrong. And instead of saying any of that stuff, I turned to her and I went, "You pretty." And you know that movie Inside Out with all the little guys in your brain? Well, all my little guys are on fire at this point. And they're just running around screaming, going, "What the fuck? What the fuck? What the fuck?" And I'm just standing there looking at her like, "Oh, God damn, what did I just say?" And so it's like, say something else, recover. You got to recover from this. And I say something along the lines of, you were in trauma. You were getting that. Yeah, we're gonna do that. And then that's when all the little guys in my head just said, "Fuck it, we're gone," and they left. They were just like, fortunately, I think she assumed either I was from another country or I was mentally ill or something, because she was very sweet. She just went, "Oh, thank you very much. That's very, very nice. Thank you." And mercifully, by the grace of God, she was called out for another take. And I'm still standing there like, As she's walking out, she walks by the space heater, okay? And without breaking her stride or anything, she's walking by, she takes an unlit cigarette out of her breast pocket, sticks it in front of the space heater, it bursts into flames, and she starts smoking it. And just at that moment, another crew member had walked up to get warm, and he saw that. And I looked at him, and he looked at me and went, "That was the coolest fucking thing I've ever seen." And I go, yeah. And then I started to cry and I left. I just went out. And I sat in a neighbor's yard, and they're on their planter, just going, "What the, you pretty, what the fuck happened?" So every time I think about, hey, I got to be a zombie in Land of the Dead, I'm an awesome some bitch, I just remember the night before, "You pretty." And I'm like, oh, that's right. I'm a schmuck. I'm a schmuck. I have never understood what the hell happened with that. And she was at a horror hound or something a few years later that I was at. And I saw her at her table, and I went, I was going to go up and say hi to her, but I'm like, oh, dear God, I can't. I was like, what would happen? And my fear is she goes, "Hey, you're the "you pretty" guy. I've been telling all my friends about you." And just... but it was, that was mortifying beyond belief. I still don't know what the fuck happened. The one thing about her is she's small. She's really tiny. She's not very tall at all. I'm 5'7". She's maybe 5'5", maybe. Because that was the one thing about her initially. I was just like, "Oh, you're down here. How cute. You pretty. Oh my God, what the fuck?" So yeah, that was.
What do you think happened with her career, as far as it seems like she did a couple of mainstream movies there and just nothing else?
I think her taste kind of ran more towards the eclectic, and because she directed quite a couple things after that, and who knows what happens with, and also based on some of the things she said, she didn't have a great time with some of the people in Hollywood. The Weinstein thing and all that, so that could have been a factor too. I don't know. It's. She's always struck me as someone who kind of marches to the beat of her own drummer. So she just kind of did her own thing. But, yeah. You pretty.
You're like the original. That is a great story. You were the original fanatic, man. Have you seen that movie?
The film. The ultimate film fanatic. It's hard to believe that show's still. I think that show's on YouTube. I think both seasons are on YouTube.
No, I'm talking about the movie.
He's talking about John Travolta.
The Fanatic. Oh, that thing. Yeah, no, I'm not as bad as him. I'm not as bad as him. No.
Oh, God.
I'm not that bad. Jesus Christ, no.
You're Moosey.
God. Yeah, so that was horrible.
We definitely wanted to mention some of the stuff. You are actually working on some projects right now, somehow. I don't know how you're doing it, but
I got skills.
Yeah,
I know how to get shit done. I can function.
One that I'm really looking forward to, though, is the 4K of Dead and Buried that Burial Ground's putting out.
Yeah.
It's been a long time since I've seen that, and I can't wait to... It seems like Blue Underground does the best job on their 4Ks. I don't know exactly what they do, but the transfers and then the fact that some of them have the soundtrack with them, and I just love their setup.
Yeah, Dead and Buried. We did. It's funny because they've been working on that for a long time. There was an interview that we shot with. It's a dual interview with Gary Sherman and the composer Joe Renzetti. We shot that in 2019, and I figured we would get right to it, but they kept having problems getting the new transfer going. So we didn't have to worry about shooting that last year because it had been in the can for a while. And then they also had me edit a piece on with Chelsea Quinn Yarborough, who wrote the novelization of Dead and Buried. So those are two featurettes that I had some work on with Dead and Buried. They already had a lot of extras for that before, so it was just a matter of kind of augmenting with a few people that they didn't have before.
And we're down to 5.
Yeah,
also,
I'm killing them off left and right. It's just like more people are like, fuck this, I'm out. You know.
The Blue Underground thing, though, do you know if... I mean, it seems like they're doing a lot of re-releases, which I love their stuff, like I was saying. Do you think that... have they talked about getting any actual new acquisitions? Or
they're always on the lookout for stuff, I'm sure, but I don't talk to them that often, so I don't really know what their plans are, but they're not going to shut down the avenue. But I think at this point, they're just like, you know, they only go after stuff if they think it's special, and I don't know if it's just they don't want to put out 1 million releases a year. You know, they want to be able to focus on certain things and not overextend themselves. So
I'll say this about Blue Underground. Of all the 4Ks that I've seen from like horror companies, like they, for whatever reason, have the best one.
They're good. Yeah, they're really good. The Zombie was really good. House of the Cemetery. I can say that Dead and Buried looks as good as Dead and Buried's ever looked. Because that's a problematic movie because it's a very dark film, very smoky kind of. You know, it's a tricky one to transfer, but it looks certainly the best that Dead and Buried has ever looked. Blows the old boy out of the water.
Vigilante was one that I'd got not too long ago.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know how. But I was like, holy shit, this looks amazing. Like, I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, well, I mean,
so they do a great job.
Oh, yeah. No, they do. They do really good work. And they've got Maniac Cop 2.
Yeah.
They're working on that one now, I think.
That Blu-ray looks fucking incredible. So I can't imagine what 4K look like.
I don't know if they're doing 3 or not. They might be, but I don't know if they're doing 3. But I know they're doing part 2. Yeah, so that's going to be cool. Yeah. But I'll get calls from them every now and then when they have something just kind of come up out of the blue. I'm just kind of like on standby with them. Say, hey, Michael, can you do this? I'm like, yeah, sure, of course. Because I've had a long relationship with them going back, well over a decade now.
Is there anything else you can tell us about the Nightmare on Elm Street box set from Scream Factory?
That there isn't. I can tell you that there isn't one.
Bullshit.
Guys, seriously, there's no plans. I've asked because, I mean, obviously, with them doing stuff with Warner Brothers and the New Line catalog, of course, you got to know that they've asked about it. But I'm not aware of any plans, anything regarding Nightmare on Elm Street whatsoever. They have not told me anything. They have actually said that they're not working on it right now. So I have every reason to believe that's true, and I don't have anything I can tell you about it. So all I know is I've heard absolutely nothing about it. You can believe me or not, but I swear to God on my mother's life, I am not involved in any release of that, nor do I know anyone else who is either. So
it's so bizarre that franchise has never had a proper, box that's actually worth a damn.
Yeah, the old DVD box set of Nightmare was pretty good, I thought. It was, but it was one of those ones where it's like they could have done more. But then since then, there's been Never Sleep Again, and after that, it's like, what more do you need to know about Elm Street after Never Sleep Again?
They just need new transfers. The first film on Blu-ray looks pretty good still, but the
other, especially the later sequels, definitely. And I'd like to see some commentary tracks too, for some of them as well. So it's like with Friday the 13th. There's other stuff to do, but in terms of the main meat of learning about the series, Never Sleep Again. That's it. You're done. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Cool. So, do you guys? I know Ben hasn't really said a whole lot. Do you have anything that you want to mention on here? The Slipster of style?
Nope, just a big fan. Kind of starstruck.
Starstruck?
How you work?
Me too.
It's always fun.
Yeah, we kind of just let Slippy go. I mean, he's the whole show.
I like to listen. I miss your Facebook Lives.
Yeah, I don't do them as much. I haven't done one much lately just because I haven't really felt like. The problem is I'm working on a lot of stuff right now and I can't talk about it. So I don't want to get on there and say, working on a lot of stuff for a lot of companies. Would you like to know what it is? Can't tell you.
Nightmare on Elm Street box set.
I'm not working on a night. I don't know of anything about a Nightmare on Elm Street box set. So,
but if you were working on it,
stop trying to. No, if I was working on it, I would say something like,
Peanut butter sandwich in 4K.
I know it. Right there, you go.
No,
his
fuck you.
poker face is pretty strong. So
I'm not.
He's not giving it any away.
I'm not doing. No, but I can tell you that I'm working on. I just finished and delivered Eyes of a Stranger. For Shout or for Scream Factory. We got to do some good stuff for that. I am working on some more Vestron titles for Lionsgate. Can't say what they are, but there are more of those coming.
Oh, come on, Felsher. I'm wearing a fucking toboggan. It's got Vestron on it. Tell me something about it.
You know what? Since you are, I will tell you this much. They're good titles.
Shit. Yeah.
It's a movie.
I'm not. There are movies. No, they'll be good. Just trust me on this. Just the days of me being able to really kind of give any scoops away are long gone because again, I get phone calls late at night going, "What did you say? Those fucking guys."
I mean,
you get phone calls talking about us shitting in boxes. So
yeah. So what's wrong with those guys? And I was like, I don't know what's wrong with them. But it's just So I'm doing that, and I'm going to announce some other stuff soon, I'm sure. But I mean, it's just a lot of things that, again, I'm not free to discuss yet. But as soon as they're announced, I'll be able to talk about them. But even then, I have to wait for them to announce the features because they won't let me talk about what the features are until they talk about them. Which is, fun.
Just give us a scoop. It'll be fine.
I'm not gonna know.
Trick or Treat, is it one? It was Trick or Treat from '86. That's what one of them is.
Trick or Treat.
I would love to see Trick or Treat come out with that.
Motherfucker.
I don't know what the hell is up with that movie. The rights are all over the place with that. No one can figure that one fucking out. But
probably all the music messes that up too.
You know what? It's always been the rumor that's what it is, but it's not. It has nothing. It has nothing to do with them. All that music most of it was made for that movie, so it's all been cleared.
And it's one band, right?
It was called Fastway, which was this band, comprised of like 3 or 4 other people from other bands. So it was, Fastway.
I was surprised to see Surf 2 announced because that has tons of
that was really cool. That's a weird movie.
It's so dumb. It's fun.
Yeah, it's the best thing Eddie Deazen's ever been in. It's just like his quintessential role. But it was so weird. I will go ahead and say this. I don't care if it's they announced Surf 2, and I don't ask me why, but I bought a 35mm trailer for that like 6 years ago on eBay, and I had it transferred in 4K when I had a couple other trailers done, just because I wanted to see it because it's not even online anywhere. So when I saw that they announced Surf 2, I contacted them and said, "Hey, do you have a trailer for Surf 2?" And it's like, "We think we might have one." Why? It's like, "Don't ask why, but I have a 4K of the Surf 2 trailer. Do you want to use it?" I'm like, "Yeah, okay." And I sent it over and said, "Yeah, we don't have this particular trailer." So it's like, "Oh, great." that 4K of Surf 2 came in handy. Who would have ever guessed?
That is one thing I love about Vinegar Syndrome, though, is like when I first saw that, I was like, "Is that fucking Surf Nazis Must Die?" Like I've never even heard of that movie.
That's what I thought too.
Yeah. Yeah. And they have a deal with Troma. They would do a lot of Troma stuff, so I wouldn't surprise if Surf Nazis.
Do you think the boutique label thing did that kind of save physical media a little bit? I mean, it seems like it.
Yeah, I think
a lot more companies are kind of doing that now.
Well, what's happening is, and which is what I kind of predicted, that physical media is reverting to a sense to what Laserdisc was like back in the day. It's a collector's medium. It's going to be, it won't be something that everybody does anymore, but a very diehard contingent of people will continue to support and will pay higher prices for in the end. Not because we're trying to gouge people, but because less copies you sell, the more you got to charge for these things. And so it'll be kind of like what Laserdisc was back in the day. And I think, I don't think physical media is going anywhere anytime soon. I think the pandemic sort of brought that to light too. Because a lot of people were getting frustrated. It's like, I wanted to rent my movie or rent my favorite movie. It's not on Netflix anymore. They took it off of Amazon Prime or whatever. And like, haha, I got it on the shelf, bitch. So, you know, and there's a lot of young people that are collecting now. It's not just the old farts like me. You know, it's the people they've passed it along to, you know, their kids and so forth. So I think that's going to keep happening. And I think boutique labels are adjusting to that reality and figuring. That's why I think you're seeing these 1,000-piece releases. They know they can't probably sell more than that, so let's make it a limited edition event and make a nice little profit on it and get the title out there that might otherwise not sell if we didn't do it that way. So, you know, good for them.
Update on Alone in the Dark. I think we ask you about this one every time we have you on.
Alone in the not the Uwe Boll one. You're talking about the Jack Shoulder movie.
The good one.
Yeah,
that one I would love to see that one happen, and that's a New Line title. That's over Warner Brothers. So there's a good possibility that Scream Factory could end up doing that one. I would love to see that one come back out because it's never had it had a special edition DVD release about 10 years ago, maybe longer.
Mm-hmm.
But it's never had a Blu-ray release. So yeah, let's hope so. Let's hope so at some point. I would say that one's more likely a possibility right now than Elm Street because there's not like 18 Alone in the Darks. But I don't know. I don't know what's going on. But let's hope. Fingers crossed on Alone in the Dark happening. Hopefully.
Is The Kindred still coming out this year?
It's been a while.
I'm not at liberty to discuss it.
So yeah.
What's funny is it's like
we can't talk
this.
about it.
This one's been coming soon for like 15 years.
That's what I was thinking. Since we started doing the show, it's been coming out.
I think that's been the longest title in gestation since we started. There's just been a lot of legal issues around that movie that took a long time to get resolved, and then the transfer was a problematic one. But there's the Kindred.
We're gonna have to get Dawn May back on here and just.
Yeah, I don't want to speak for Dawn, but the Kindred is it's a movie.
It's a top.
Oh,
yeah, pretty good.
I can't say anything about it.
Anybody got anything else on here in the chat? I know it's getting kind of late. It's almost 11 o'clock, boss. Got work tomorrow.
Well, we got Easter weekend coming up, so that's good for people.
I found out something mind-blowing real quick before we go about Halloween 5. You remember that scene where Michael Myers knocks out at that old hermit's house for a year and a half? Apparently there's long lost footage. Apparently it was supposed to be like a satanic ritual to bring him back, which gave him the mark on his arm. But I guess it was in the midst of satanic panic, and the producers were like, cut that shit. So they came up with this fucking thing where he just knocks out at this guy's house. But that footage, there's behind-the-scenes footage, but that scene just doesn't exist. They just scrubbed it completely. They filmed it and everything.
They've got it now. They went back and found it. They've went back through all the negatives, and they have the original negatives, I think, for that scene. there's hopefully at some point another edition of Halloween 5. Well, if there's when it's inevitably reissued again at some point, they would actually hopefully have that scene. And it's weird. Halloween. I love Halloween 5 because it's one of the best looking of all the films, and it's got some really interesting set pieces. But there's some weird shit in that movie. Like there's just like that whole thing where an old man takes care of him for like a year, and Michael Myers just gets up and goes, "Thanks, old man." And it's like, well, what? You're an asshole, Michael Myers. This old man took care of you.
The biggest thing with that fucking movie is just the cast. Like the cast of that movie is awful. Like
I always liked everybody in that movie. I never had a problem with it. But the weird thing is like
the mask was pretty terrible.
The mask is weird. I can't explain why the mask looks so different because that's one of those ones. There's a video. Sean Clark and Tommy Lee Wallace do a 20-minute tutorial on how to make a Michael Myers mask, and they have one of the Don Postman. And Tommy Lee Wallace goes through and does. You cut out the eyes, you tease the hair, you take the sideburns off, paint it with this white, and that mask looks like it walked off the set of Halloween back in '78.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's amazing. And then you look at the sequels to like Halloween 4, 5, and 6. It's like, how did you fuckers not know how to do? Why do any of your masks not look a goddamn thing like this? I mean, it's just like, was it really that hard? But the thing about Halloween 5 that kills me is
I heard the rumor.
No, go ahead.
I heard the rumor that 4 was the original. I heard the Halloween 4 mask was like the original mask, but they fucked it up because they like, I guess when they repainted it, like they repainted over like the features, like the paint was too thick. That's why it's like solid white.
Yeah, maybe.
Because
but
there's a scene where they filmed later on where Michael Myers throws Loomis out the window, and it's like the Ben Tramer mask. It's the Ben Tramer mask.
It has
part 2.
blonde
It has
hair.
the blonde hair.
Yeah. They didn't catch that. It's weird. There's a lot of little things like that. But in like Halloween 5, the Myers house has now become this gothic mansion, which has this huge. It's like, when did this happen? When did they live in this house?
That house is on the market right now.
I know. I saw that. I know. Yeah. But it's like, when did Michael Myers live in the goddamn house from The Haunting? This is bizarre. But yeah, it's
a bizarre movie.
Actually, I stumbled upon a movie called Night Angel, I believe.
Dominique Arthur and Gerard's other movie. Yeah, he did.
I was like, I've got to buy this just to see if like this is as bad as Halloween. Like, if this guy is actually able to.
Stylistically, he's a very good director. He knows how to create atmosphere, and the barn sequence is beautifully shot. The same DP, the DP who did that, Robert Draper, he worked on Tales from the Dark Side, the movie, and on the Creep Show, the series, and I've gotten to know him a lot over the last year, so he's a great guy. And I remember the first thing I said to him was, I loved your work on Halloween 5. I said, oh, thank you very much. The movie doesn't make any sense, but it looked great. And I was like, and he's like, you're right, it's a weird movie. It's just like it's.
Well, he also did Omen 4 as well.
Oh, Dominique, which has the silliest goddamn death scene. If you know which one I'm talking about, right?
I think so, yeah.
The wrecking ball. The wrecking ball is the dumbest goddamn thing because it's in slow motion and this giant wrecking ball comes out of this building and Michael Lerner's standing there like this. And then the ball's like, duh. And then it cuts back to him. And then the ball's like, duh.
Well, he's petrified.
Yeah,
he can't
and
move.
It takes like 5 minutes for this thing to get to him, and he's just like, and then it eventually flattens his ass. But it's just like, oh my god, that was silly. That was just, check it out. Check out the wrecking ball death in Omen 4 sometime if you want a good laugh. It's one of the silliest death scenes I've ever seen.
Movie out again.
It's funny because I just ordered the Omen collection, so I'll go back and watch
it. Oh, you had a chance to see it, yeah.
Well, Sleepy, we go ahead. Sorry.
No, I just followed. Wasn't Tarantino originally hired to write Halloween 6?
Everyone was originally hired to write Halloween 6. I think Halloween 6 had an enormous amount. It was like Leatherface, Texas Chainsaw 3. Everybody who was writing scripts at the time had a pass at that. But, for one reason or another, it didn't happen. But, yeah, it was Halloween 6. I produced the Blu-ray of that one, and I'm fine with it as far as it goes, but I've never – the little girl going, it's raining red. I hate that little girl. I just that scene is so stupid to me. It's like it's raining. Who says that? What if I'm walking around and blood's dripping on me? And my first thought is not going to be it's raining red. My first thought is going to be who the fuck is bleeding on me? This is bullshit. This shouldn't be happening to me right now. I gotta get the fuck out of here. But she's like, it's raining red. Shut the fuck up, little girl. You know.
There's a lot wrong with that movie, but a lot right too, though.
There's a whole hell of a lot wrong with H2O as well. I rewatched that one last year. I mean, it's not.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot wrong with all the Halloween movies. Let's be honest with you. This is not. You know, I always. It's hard for me to kind of like. Well, what's Halloween about? Well, Michael Myers comes back to Haddonfield and kills a bunch of people. Okay. What's Halloween 2 about? Well, Michael Myers is still in Haddonfield and he kills a bunch of people. What about Halloween 4? Well, Michael Myers has been away from Haddonfield for a long time, but he comes back and he kills a bunch of people. What about Halloween 5? Well, he's only away from Haddonfield for about a year, and then he comes back and he kills a bunch of people. What about Halloween 6? Pretty much the same thing, kills a lot more people. What about Halloween 7? Well, he's not in Haddonfield this time, but he does kill a lot of people. What about Halloween 8? Well, there's a web show in a house, and he kills a lot of people, but he doesn't kill Busta Rhymes. What about the Rob Zombie movies? Well, fucking Michael Myers fucking kills a lot of fucking people in fucking Haddonfield over and fucking again all over the fucking place. What about Halloween Kills? Oh, well, Michael Myers comes back to Haddonfield and kills a lot of people. It's like, oh, God damn it. You know, it's just like really. And my problem with Halloween Kills, the new one, or the new Halloween, the just to call it Halloween. I mean, Jamie Lee Curtis does a good job, but I couldn't. Was like they made her too crazy for me. It was just like, who married you and had kids with you? You're nuts. You know, I bought the one in H2O. She's got some problems and she's an alcoholic, but the one in the new Halloween is just like, you're out of your fucking mind. Who in their right mind would ever marry into that or have a relationship with her and have kids and raise? I mean, it's just like, no. I just didn't buy it. But, you know, it made a shit ton of money, so obviously no one gives a shit.
The only thing about that movie that I was just like, this just doesn't fit was the doctor. The whole plot about the doctor who wanted to experience murder, and I'm just like, what the fuck? There had to be some plot point they were just trying to like get to with that, where they needed him to move along the story, because that didn't make any sense whatsoever.
Yeah, I've the Michael Myers series, out of all the major horror series, is probably the one I'm the least interested in. I guess just because at some point I was just, I don't know, I just don't find Michael Myers that interesting as a character. Not that, you know, I mean, I love the Friday the 13th movies, but there's a lot of the same problems. But at least he went to space. You know, I mean, it's like they did try to mix it up there at least a little bit, but you know,
he didn't go to the hood though. He needed to go to the hood.
He did not. He did not go to the hood. Leprechaun went to the hood twice.
Yeah.
He went because once was just not enough. They had to send his ass back to the hood, which is, you know.
God damn, they made too many of those movies.
Have you seen the most recent one?
Yes, it's actually not that bad.
It is actually surprisingly entertaining.
I watched it over St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah, it's actually really, really good. The director, that Stephen Kowalski, who did Psycho Gorman that recently came out, he's a good director. He's a really good. So that was a situation where they got a really good director to do something that was quite frankly beneath him, but he was just like, I'll have fun with this and do something interesting. And it was good. I was really surprised by how much I enjoyed Leprechaun Returns.
Yeah, it was great. The one right before that, though, the one that had Hornswoggle in it, Origins or something, that was fucking. Yeah. Oh, it was brutal.
I don't know what I didn't. I don't. No. I couldn't figure out what they wanted that movie to be. It's like, are you trying to do a serious take on this, or are you trying to make it part? What did you want to achieve with this? And it's like, it's not really a Leprechaun movie, and it's not really its own. It's a, what is this? And I'm like, blah, you know.
Well, Slippy, we appreciate you coming on here. We've been on here for like 2 hours, and
I don't think that sets the record for one of our chats, though. I think we've done ones longer than that.
Oh, yeah.
Probably.
Yeah.
Usually on the weekends, though. Saturday night was like 3 hour plus. Yeah.
Yeah. How many? I was going to ask you. There was one thing I wanted to ask about. How many live commentaries did we do at the shows? How many? Which ones did we? I know we did Home Sweet Home, and didn't we do Friday 5? Did we do Friday 5 at one point?
Did we do Savage Streets?
I thought we did Savage Streets.
We might have done Savage Streets. Yeah, we might have done. But I know we did Home Sweet Home. I remember that one.
Yeah, we definitely.
But there was another one, but I can't remember which one it was.
Burial Ground.
Yeah, I think it was Burial Ground. Yes.
Yeah.
Because we just kept obsessing over that kid's fucking weird, man.
We've got all those on the Patreon page.
Oh,
you can get them all now, Felsher.
DEADPIT on Patreon.com, Slippy. Check it out.
No, I'm not paying for that shit.
Somebody was asking me about the, and I told him I'd ask you. I mean, I didn't know if you still had it or not. Didn't you have like a Danny Steinman commentary for Part 5 that you and him recorded?
We did. It was a live commentary at Cinema Waste. It was me, Art Ettinger from Ultraviolet Magazine, and Danny did a midnight live commentary for Friday 5 that was a fucking blast. All of us just ragged on the movie nonstop for 90 minutes, and the crowd got progressively more and more drunk as we went along. And it was hilarious. It was so much fun. I do have a recording of it, actually. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I can't remember who it was, but they was like, you should see if you can get that to put it on Patreon. And I was like, well, that's not really, I mean, we didn't have anything to do with that, but
Yeah.
I guess I could ask him.
Yeah, I guess I'm kind of like, alumni of DEADPIT.com to some degree. I'm kind of like, a supporting. I'm a featured player, so maybe that's. I could look and see if I know I have it around here somewhere, and I know it's synced up to the movie because I actually bothered to do that. But yeah, that was a funny commentary. There was a lot of points where Danny was just cracking up, and I remember turning to him and saying, "Danny, are we being too hard on the movie?" He's like, "No, keep going. This is keep going. This is funny as fuck." Because he didn't have any. He knew what kind of movies he made. He was perfectly fine with it.
Yeah.
I miss Danny. He was a fun guy. He was a fun dude.
Yeah, no doubt. But man, I appreciate it. We'll have to do it again at some point. And Ben, Eric, Carta, all you guys for joining us on here. Bombastic. I don't know who else was on here tonight, but we had a big crowd.
Thank you guys. Seriously, it's really cool.
Yeah.
I would just like to say before we all go, next time we do one of these, I'm going to have to demand an explanation again for why you were able to reach over and in arm's length grab a copy of the Snorks. This really bothers me. It's been bothering me all night since you did it. It's going to continue to bother me I don't like that. The fact that you have it, and then again, you didn't even have to get the fuck out of your chair to get it. Really bothers me, and I'm gonna. We may have to stage an intervention. I don't know what we're gonna have to do, but that really is fucking up my head tonight. So
it just, I gotta say though, it's just calming to me to always have the Snorks within arm's reach. I've always been that way. Uncle Bill knows this. When we recorded
this is not making it better for me. This is not improving things for me.
That should be the thumbnail of the video.
This is. I want to see. I want to see the creepy Kentuckian waxes poetic about the Snorks. I would pay for that. You put that on the Patreon page.
I want to do fan commentaries over episodes of the Snorks.
Yeah, because I'll pay for that because I just want to try to understand. Just reveal something about your psyche I haven't yet realized. But again, that was the scariest thing I have seen in years. Me bringing up the Snorks and you just going, "Why, looky here, my Snorks tape, which I keep with me."
He's been waiting 15 years for you to bring up the Snorks so he can do that.
And just a good
opportunity.
Bill, here's another question I have for you. Who's that hanging from the noose behind you? Who died?
Oh, that's Papaw.
That answers nothing.
You don't know Papaw?
No.
Actually, that is what I think to be like a Walking Dead freaking prop replica thing, because it's got like a crossbow arrow in the head that we got from Halloween Express or one of those Halloween stores that we used for this past Halloween to decorate outside that I just hung up in here.
All right.
Goes with the decor.
Yeah.
Oh, I would like to just close out with just one thing. Before we go, I do want to mention one thing that was kind of funny. Someone's selling a lot of screen-used matte paintings from a whole bunch of movies on eBay right now, from a whole bunch of different movies. And I produced the Deep Star 6 Blu-ray that came out last year. And they had a matte painting from Deep Star 6. It's actually the one that it's the hero shot of the station underwater. And it's a beautiful matte painting. It's just gorgeous. And I thought, I'm going to buy that. They didn't want that much money for it. So I bought it. And then as soon as I paid for it, I went back and looked at the details. This thing is 4 feet tall and 8 feet wide.
Oh,
yeah.
I don't have a wall on my house that's big enough to even hang it up at, period, let alone one that's available. So I had to email the guy back and go, it's too big for me. I'm sorry. And he was very understanding. So he had a smaller piece of concept art, which I bought instead. But I was just like, I didn't look at it. It's like, how much is 48 by 96 inches? How big is oh, dear God. I was like, and I did the measurement with my measuring tape, and it just kept going. I'm like, oh, dear God. And then the thing was going to have to ship from California, which was going to cost like $300 because they wouldn't have to crate it. They wouldn't be able to box it. They have to put it in a fucking crate. So it's like, okay. It's a shame, though. It's a beautiful piece, but I don't have a 4x8 section of wall available in my house to hang this thing up. It was like, I forgot. Matte paintings tend to be kind of large. So that's back up on eBay if you're looking for a wall decoration for the entire side of your house.
If you had like a barn or something to put it in.
I guess, yeah, or like if you have your own private art gallery, which, but that was, I felt so bad.
I would be super fucking impressed if I went to somebody's house and they had a whole wall that was just like Deep Star 6.
Yeah.
I was like, Jesus. That's
they had a couple of matte paintings that were that size from that movie, and I'm like, wow. It's just like, where do you put that shit? I mean, it's just, but yeah, I felt so bad emailing him back going, I didn't look at the size. Holy shit, dude, I can't fit that in my house. So yeah, that was like, oops.
Something else, like, since we talked about it a little bit earlier, and you may be interested in joining us for this, we actually had the idea. I guess it was like a Cursed Films idea that, but kind of like a podcast version of it. And we were talking about maybe even you said you were doing research on the Twilight Zone movie.
Oh, yeah.
Just watching footage and stuff like that. And we were talking about that, movies like Clown House, stuff that's got issues, that had some issues.
Yeah, I like how you said Clown House. There were some issues.
There's just a couple minor issues, if you know what I mean.
No. There was one minor issue.
Keyword minor.
With that. Yeah, that's a nice way to put that. Bravo, Uncle Bill. Very, very well put. That would be fun, actually. And the Twilight Zone one is one I could talk about a lot because, I have done a lot of research on that incident and kind of what the fallout from that was, because it wasn't immediate. Most people think that it happened and the trial happened right after. The trial didn't happen for many years after that. So there was a whole period there where Landis did like 4 movies, and then the trial happened, and so it changed a lot of things in the business. And it was, the details of the accident are kind of remarkable when you get really into it. It's amazing that it was ever allowed to happen.
There's a lot of stuff out there for sure to check out. Old newspaper articles that are up online, and I mean, just stuff that I'm starting to look at, and
yeah.
There's a rumor, I'm sure we'll talk about this when we actually do the show, but there was a rumor that he actually either inadvertently or directly kind of like asked or implied that the jurors would be in a film, like a documentary style film of the trial. And a lot of people think that that's kind of influenced them to vote him not guilty too.
There's some stories of Landis had some strange behavior after the deaths and around the trial that were things that were just like, why would you do that? Like he went to the funeral of the girls or something like that, or the kids, and said some things about, or went to Vic Morrow's funeral apparently and said, this movie will be a tribute to him and everything. It's like, dude, you're about to go on trial for his murder. What are you doing here? So yeah, there's been a lot of things said about it was the whole fracas, the whole circus that developed around that whole thing after it happened. It is quite fascinating. And then, like I said, the details of that night are really interesting to sift through, because you have a lot of people who went on record back in the day about what happened there, and how some of the stories haven't changed so much over the years, but have kind of left certain details out and have become a little bit more streamlined. And it's really a little morbid, true, but it's also quite fascinating, and just like how many things went wrong that night. It wasn't just one thing; it was a whole catastrophic series of events that went wrong that night.
No doubt. Yep. But yeah, that's a future show. Hopefully, we can get back together and do that. But guys, sure. I definitely appreciate you all coming on, and we'll have to do it again soon.
Absolutely, it was nice doing this. Thank you very much. And that snork shit still scares the crap out of me.
I don't know why. It's a snort.
You had it right there. It was right there. Random. That's the thing. And it's a VHS.
What's wrong, Snippy?
And it's a VHS. Why is it a VHS? What is going on here?
VHS is the new DVD.
That is fucking weird. Right. I'm out. I'll see you guys.
Yeah, bye. I'm out.
You guys have a good evening.
You too. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Mike, take care. Good to see you again, man.
It was good to see you too, man.
All right, y'all have a good evening.
Bye.
Thank you, guys.
A special thank you goes out to our supporters on Patreon. The Patreon website has a complete archive of the Dead Pit radio shows starting way back in 2005, in addition to all of the midweek shows archived, commentaries, all that good stuff. If you're interested, and we appreciate all the support, go to www.patreon.com/Into the Dead Pit. Tiers start as low as $1 per month.